Any members of the public may make a comment if they wish now to councillors. Now we've just debated whether we've taken sort of advice on where Cheryl might want to interject. Now it may be that there's some way you can feed back in the budget item, but would you like to go through your proposal for the budget now? I'm being told this is the time.
Can I suggest, we discussed it a little bit earlier, but as far as we can tell, what the procedure would normally be is a councillor who is not on the committee may make a statement before the agenda item.
Right.
That's only in
at the chairs. That's in the F&O.
I'm happy to speak now.
Yeah, it just seems to make more sense to do it just before the item. And
Yeah,
apparently
yeah.
said chairs discretion. So
Well, isn't it suspending substandard
Yeah,
or something to allow someone to speak directly before the
If
vote,
that's a-
especially if the councillor is the one proposing the motion. But I don't know what the standing orders are.
As I say,
I haven't had time to read the minutes.
are there standing orders, which again I read every night. I've got them printed on my bed sheets. But they do say specifically that a councillor may speak on an agenda item at the chair's discretion. So I think that's pretty, because if you were to say something now, I'll have forgotten it by the time the agenda
So I think it's more
comes up.
appropriate if Cheryl to present or say something before.
When we come to the event.
Yes, is that okay? Is everyone happy with that? Okay, so we will do that. And no other items being brought up. Apologies for absence.
We haven't received
Haven't
any.
received any. Declarations of interest and dispensations. Any members want to declare anything since the last time we met? No? Okay. Yay, just in time. So, item 6, confirm the previous minutes, which are... So, does anybody have any comments on the previous minutes? Which I wasn't
I
at.
spelled Linda's surname wrong. Apologies.
Oh, yeah.
Cross it out and put the right name.
Absolutely.
Robertson.
Yes.
And then
Right.
you signed it by sign.
Yeah. It's the 18th still, isn't it?
It's still the 18th.
Still 2023.
Okay.
Gosh,
Nearly not.
goes so slowly. Oh. 18th, 12th. Right, so, done that one. Approval of payments and signature of the monthly bank reconciliation. Does anybody have any comments on this? Have people had a look?
This is new. So you sign the bank reconciliation.
For this one?
Which is that one.
Yeah.
Sign that one. And that's just to show the cash book that
Yeah.
that has been reconciled to
Do I sign this one as well?
Yes, please.
Just the top one? Somebody else sign the top?
I've got glasses on.
Yes.
That'd be me.
Okay. Does anybody want to make any comments before I sign it?
They haven't seen them.
You haven't seen it? I thought we said we're not saying.
Not those. There's just my.
Alright, so
what's the Excel? That's the PDF, isn't it?
And some PDF is the payment.
right.
And hopefully you should have all had the monthly big spreadsheet. Apologies, it went out on Friday because we had issues with Realtor, so I couldn't shut the month down. But hopefully you've all seen that. I didn't print it off, but my computer's over there. So hopefully we did it.
So not on both sides. just on the back, yeah. Yes, so item 8 done. Item 9, to note and review the interim internal auditor's report. Sean.
I have a couple of questions. So I'm just to understand, so we obviously had a previous internal audit report and a new internal audit report.
You have an internal, because you're a big council, or class as a big council, every council has to be internally audited before you approve the accounts in May. But because you're a big council and class as a big council, you have what they call interim account audits. So he's come in and done the first one in November, the second one will be in February, and then the final one will be the end of the year. So this is his first interim.
Okay. Fine. What time period is this over, this internal audit?
This is from this financial year, April, it says on there, April to October.
Okay. Because I'm just concerned that neither of the internal audit reports have picked up the problems that we've...
No, he would only do this year. He won't do previous years.
No. So there were a number of issues that were. So if we go back to, it would include April this year.
Yeah. So he only did the accounts in this one.
Okay. So there were obviously problems back in April when we know that the previous administration approved their budget in April when it should have been done in February. And as a result of that, there are issues to do with the insurance. For example, was one example where they budgeted 7,000, it turned out to be 17,000, so the budget was £10,000
That
out.
will be in last year's.
So that's in last year's internal audit report.
Should have been.
Should have been. So what date is this one starting from? Because that was April.
Well, the insurance and the budget would have been done last year.
Okay.
So he's only looked at 23 to 24 this financial
Okay.
year.
And and the £80,000 worth of invoices that weren't budgeted that you found, that's not been mentioned in the internal audit report.
No,
Because that's just internal management though, isn't it? So that's not what he's looking at.
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand. How?
He looked at the account. So he's come in and he's looked at the accounts.
Okay.
He's coming back in February to look at the governance.
Okay.
And the paper.
Okay. Right. And he refers to the BDO in external audit reports.
Still hasn't come in.
So he hasn't seen it, and we haven't seen it. Do we know when that's going to come in? Do you know what the hold of is?
Whenever they get around to doing it. I will chase after Christmas.
Okay.
Well, the hold up was because you didn't do your public rights notice. So they had to wait for that to be done.
Okay.
That only finished a month ago.
Right. Okay.
And they don't have many staff out of season.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fine. Thank you.
So this has just been noted, and then the full council need to approve it.
Okay.
So we noted that. We've noted that. That's good. So we'll move on to item 10.
Yeah.
Go on, which is Katie, WECA tenders for the scrub clearance work taking place throughout Summerland.
Yeah, so Summer Valley Rediscovered as a Bayside project have got key areas throughout Westfield, Radstock and Midsummer Norton as being the Town Park and Wellow Brook Walk where they need to do scrub clearance. So as a panel, which has included Miriam Warnoff, the Baines lead, Andy King from New Leaf and then the three clerks, have sat down and gone out to tender, received back in the bids from three different contractors. We've independently scored them all, looked through all their proposals, looked through all their paperwork and decided on a company which is in the spreadsheet which was attached to the agenda. So really it's for you to approve it basically, that we'll go ahead. So it'll be 2,500 per area, so it'll be a financial contribution from Midsummer Norton, 5,000.
Any questions? So the money has been allocated in the budget.
No,
It hasn't been allocated.
and we'll do it anyway.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, I was told about it, but it's...
But is it £5,000? Was it 5,000?
It's been
For
agreed.
this year.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been agreed at them.
It has been agreed quite a long time ago with somebody we discovered that we would contribute towards the scrub clearance. This is all kind of...
It just hadn't appeared in the...
And they manage all the sort of like all the scrubs taken away or chipped or
Yeah, exactly that.
would be another cost sort of
No.
thing. Sounds good then.
And the recommendation is M&G.
Yeah.
Does anybody anybody have any comments to make on that? Happy with that?
Happy with that?
Yeah, okay, good.
Sounds
Yeah.
great.
So that's...
And it will take place in a phased kind of over a couple of years, so that'll be managed by Miriam and her team. There are obviously some areas like in Hayden Batch that need work doing at certain times of year with their special grasslands, so the work will be programmed to kind of suit the time of the year and how urgent it is that that area gets seen. So it might not happen immediately, but it is all part of a master bigger plan. Good, I'll be happy.
Okay, good. So that's item 10. Item 11, this is the street marshals for the Christmas period. As the council or the clerks were contacted by someone at Mallards,
Yeah.
they think, who requested some marshals over the Christmas period, and they sort of looked into that. The dates are there. They put out a tender to several companies.
Yeah.
One's come back
in.
and so we have money in the budget that we could allocate to that if we feel inclined to fund it. My understanding is that it would be, we would have to pay for it ourselves. We couldn't give the money to somebody else, to Mallards or somewhere else to pay for, so we would be responsible for it. So the only issues really are who's managing them and overseeing their work, and who's deciding where they go and when.
Yeah. So in the brief that I put together, which came largely from previous Marshall sort of briefs that had been put out, but basically it's for 2 people, and we tell them when we want them to work, the dates that we want them to work, and the area in which we want them to kind of patrol, I suppose, as it were, and then we want them to fill out their sort of debriefing form and let us know the sorts of things that they've dealt with throughout the evening. So we do get some feedback from them, and then I've asked them to fill out an appendix really showing us their certificates and their insurance and all that sort of stuff. And we've only had one company come back which will cost £1,340 plus VAT, which includes double time for the bank holiday hours that they'll be working. But as you say, in terms of the management of these people, I don't know where the requirement, sort of how it bubbled up, really. But we had to move quite quickly to get this on the agenda for tonight to get any cameras back. So unfortunately it is
Starting on the 22nd.
starting on the 22nd,
It's the company that we've heard back from is Orbital Facilities.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're familiar with that, we've used those before. What any comments?
Well, we did
So-
make, I was going to say,
Pardon?
No, I thought
Five,
that like
one,
scrub
two,
clearance
three,
look
four, five,
expensive.
7 nights for 5 hours a night for 2 people. That's a hell of a lot of time for the money.
That's not
That's
per night.
You're right, it doesn't seem a lot of money for
10 hours per night then, isn't it? If it's 2 people.
yes.
Well, they've
That's
quoted,
the going rate.
is it?
It's not less
they've
than
quoted
minimum wage.
16.75 an hour.
Right. Well, I mean, if that's what they're
Yes, that's
quoting,
per night
so
then,
that's
is it?
that. But it does.
No,
doesn't
it's
seem
500
like
quid per
it.
night.
well, hang on, we've got, one would be about £2,000, that's what I've got here.
Well, I
But-
think it would be, over the busy holiday time, it would be good to have extra
I don't
security on,
disagree with it.
and we've got the money, and it'd be a good gesture to provide marshals.
We made the provision
Yeah.
at last year's precept draft budget, didn't we? We decided that that having every single week marshals was too expensive. It was incredibly expensive. And we decided to leave something in the budget if something arose. And to be fair, the firm has quite lightly said you have made some provision.
Well, I think that's... I agree. That provision was used elsewhere, so that...
It isn't correctly, you have put it in the budget, but you now spend that money elsewhere. You are currently running square on budget.
That was something else we overspent, not the security budget, though, hasn't been touched yet,
No,
has it?
but,
Yeah.
No, but We have an £80,000 worth of unbudgeted expenses, invoices to pay. So it's been reallocated to.
6,000 has been reallocated somewhere else.
Was that actually?
Massive demand. Sorry.
I don't know.
It wasn't. No, it hasn't been wired or anything.
Mm.
My computer's over there. I'll move down.
But even just on things like the grants, funny, we've quite a lot
You
over
can't,
that.
Yeah.
have gone over.
Well, I'm
So-
just thinking if there's, was it just one person that asked for the marshal?
Well, as far as we know,
Or
one
just
I don't know where the
business.
conversation
where
originally
that's-
came from,
yeah.
if anybody can.
So
I think it was
came from
probably-
Mallard's plant.
Right.
So there's been a single request from Mallard's, not from any of the other venues. I mean, there is. I mean, you know, I'm an advocate for having street marshals. I think, as I say, the town is changing and evolving at the moment, and if anything, it's moving more towards people going out and drinking and eating than just being what Bisson was traditionally, just a drinking town. So I think street marshals do provide some safety and security, particularly for residents that feel a bit apprehensive about coming down the town at night to access restaurants and stuff. So it's something that at some point we're going to revisit the outgoing about having them every weekend. Whether we have them for this period here, I would suggest if we can afford it, it's not a bad idea to give people confidence to come down the town. There are still issues in the town. There's still issues with antisocial behaviour and stuff.
No, what looking at the screen, yes, you have. Let me just find it. Street marshals, you did allocate. Street marshals, you did allocate 6,425 million. Well, if you scroll down to the bottom, because you've overspent and you've got stuff that hasn't been in the budget at the moment, you're 2,000, 7,000 over budget.
Hmm.
So, but you never take 4,000 or 5,000 over budget, so it's being spent elsewhere.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, as I say, we made a provision for it.
Yes.
They've asked. It is a busy time over year,
Yeah.
and I don't really feel the council should really be able to refuse that because we agreed it at last year's budget. It'd be interesting to see what the report comes back. I'm assuming we'll get them to do a similar sort of loop to the one.
Well,
they
this
did
is the
before.
problem. This has always historically been the problem. Is it's okay having street marshals provided they're effective, and they're only effective if they're managed correctly. And with this problem, historically they haven't been managed correctly, which means they haven't been of any use or of limited use.
Yeah.
So I think if we're going to have them, they need to understand very clearly what their role is and what we're expecting from them. So I would say if we're going to do it, let's make sure they understand that.
And how are we going to do that in
Well, they
3
didn't
days?
understand the brief.
Well, yes, we've got to. Yes.
There is a brief.
No, they didn't understand it because they didn't respond in the way that I'd asked them to respond. So,
Well, typically when the council's gone out for bids for street marshals, they've had no response because all the companies didn't understand or felt that the bid was too complex to respond to. So I think we need to be very clear. We need to clarify exactly. I mean, especially over a short period of time, it's very easy to be very clear about what exactly we want them to do.
but we need the input from, I suppose, the business owners
Yeah.
to say what is it exactly that you want these marshals to be doing. If we're employing these people, then we need to be employing them properly.
I think it's important to understand what street marshals can and can't do, and I mean, first of all, street marshals are not there to get involved in confrontation. In the same way as a PCSO is not there to be involved in a confrontation. They're effectively there to monitor what's going on, to call in resource when it's needed, for example, call in the police if they're needed, to advise CCTV to monitor something if there's an issue, things like that, and to keep a record of what's going on. But they're not here to jump in the middle of a fight and stop a regular fight.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to do that. They have no more rights than you or I, with or without an SIA badge. So yeah. So I think if the council's minded to approve this, then we need to have a meeting with the company beforehand and make sure we understand what their operatives are are going to be doing.
So it's before this week.
That's
finishes.
3 days
It's the
away.
22nd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And they confirm they've actually got the staff available, because
yeah.
it's difficult enough these days to find security staff. Really difficult to find security. There's a shortage
That's
of
a worry.
SIA badge security staff.
Well, it was interesting because the
Is
last
it worrying
one,
that they're available over?
the last Marshall tender ended actually because they left.
Yes.
They just stopped it. But anyway,
So the
They weren't
issue is
orbital,
main.
haven't used
they weren't
them.
orbital. It was a Bath company.
Yeah. Well, somebody else stepped in, didn't they? Because
Oh, we had a
they
little
left, and that's why it
intermediate.
stopped, because we hadn't authorised them.
Because I'm quite happy to propose this if somebody wants to
it's
second
it's just the mechanism, isn't it, of who's going to individually speak to them and liaise between them and the businesses, the town area where they know what they've got this document outlining what we're expecting of them, but actually what that becomes, in the town needs sorting out. So who's going to do that? That's the only thing to discuss.
Assuming that they're already familiar with marshalling.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have any other marshalling contracts. Are they involved in the Bath marshalling or?
Yeah, well, it says that their track record of delivering services across Bath and Wiltshire, as well as nighttime economy venues, will also provide city marshals for Bath BID. This consists of day and night marshals for experience of crime reduction and assisting with medical emergencies, relief pressure on emergency services. And they say that they've got a wealth of staff that can be used for the roles midsummer and autumn, over Christmas and beyond if required. All the staff are SIA licensed to door supervisor standard, and they're screened and vetted to BS 7858 standard. They've copied in their assurance and they've given us their prices.
I mean, only one.
As the employer, or we are licensee or whatever we are, if there was any issues, would they be able to contact us during the period of their work? I mean, if the office is open, is anyone available? If we're employing them,
Not in the night.
when?
Between
Not
10 and
in
3.
Well, the previous.
No, I
marshals,
mean on the 24th, 26th, 30th, and 30th. Or whatever.
the previous
December.
marshals never would have contacted the council.
No, but I know, but they were employed on a different contract and they knew what they were doing. Did they?
It was very similar.
Was
I
it?
think. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Well, my only one thing was if it was to improve the what should we call it? The food economy, restaurant economy.
Yeah.
10 p.m. is a little bit late for a lot of people to eat. I was thinking if you're going to have, if you're trying to encourage safer eating, maybe.
Is the 7, 8 o'clock problem?
I don't know, but I mean, if it's like to encourage people to go out for meals,
Yeah, that they will have already eaten.
they'll have already eaten. Yeah. But anyway, I'm just fair enough. But
So we are only doing this because Mallards has asked for it. So just to be clear.
Yeah.
Mallards came to us because they'd had a conversation with the council.
that's me.
Oh right.
Well, I did ask how they're getting on with that marshals, and they said it was harder. And I said, well, we made provision for it.
Well, I mean,
Is that
we have to be clear about whose responsibilities are, because every venue have a responsibility for their own security and security of their customers. So we're talking about what happens between venues, not at venues. And street marshals are not there to provide extra door staff for venues.
That's what that feels.
Well, to be fair to the Mallards, they actually have one of the better door security provisions in town, I'd say. Certainly on Fridays and Saturdays. Yeah. They have door staff.
They have door staff. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, in the town at the moment, there are only 2 venues that have door staff now. That's myself at Fat Sam's and Mallards.
And Mallards, okay. So they do have door staff, yeah.
So
I think their argument was because other people maybe don't. They feel that they're not allowed. Am I right in saying they're not allowed to operate out beyond their boundary, the door staff?
once you move outside your premises, then you're operating as a member of the public.
Yeah, gotcha.
I mean, you have an SIA badge, but yeah. So we can do this, but the venues need to be responsible for their. I mean, Witherspoons don't have door staff anymore.
Oh, when did that stop?
Riverside occasionally have one doorman.
See, Spoons used to have staff.
Crossways.
They stopped. The Crossways used to as well.
Crossways.
Just for a short period.
Yeah, they've not had them for a long time.
Yeah.
So there literally are only 2 venues in the town that have door staff. I always have a minimum of 3 staff, normally 4 on my venue. I think Mallards normally have 2 on theirs, but the rest of the venues don't have any door staff. And this works as a deterrent and a way of getting resource in, for example, police when they're needed. But it's not the solution to everything. This is one part of a jigsaw puzzle.
I mean, when you say that, one part of a jigsaw, so in part of the report that was submitted by the Mallards, so they talked about an increase in antisocial behaviour. They talked about masked or partially masked youths running amok in the high street. And I know I've said this a few times, but I think this is why we need to find out what's going on with surveillance in the town, to find out how much that's true, how much, if there's any case of, if that is true, there should be an evidence base to hand over to the police. But without some way of gathering evidence, which would be cameras typically, it just becomes kind of hearsay. So I do think that's why Baines and the town council, if necessary, needs to have some way of recording antisocial behaviour like that, to create an evidence base to say to the correct authority, the police, to say, look, there is a problem and we can prove it, as opposed to just kind of.
But that's, and that's what the street marshal scheme does. It doesn't do it in this because this is a handful of nights. This is not going to provide the database and the evidence that the police need.
It'd just be a snapshot over it.
We have an inherent problem in Midsummer Norton where the statistics effectively show that there is no crime in Midsummer Norton. And because the statistics show no crime, the police don't allocate any resource to us. There's no point to the police officers in Midsummer Norton, there aren't any crime. I mean, the last statistics I saw when I went to one of the reviews was something silly like 12 drug-related crimes in a year. Now, we all know that that's not true, but that's the sort of statistics that are governing whether we get police resource. Having street marshals and having regular reports going back to the police on a weekly basis saying, here are the issues of antisocial behaviour and drugs and all the things we're having, builds up that picture that we suddenly start to get resource. But that's a different story to what we're looking at here, because this is just a one-off hit.
So I think if we seem fairly minded to go ahead with this, just limited period, and it's a reasonable cost that we can afford. Maybe then all we need to do is to, as a council, contact the businesses to let them know this is happening, the pubs and clubs, and to make the marshals aware of their role and responsibility, and ask them to introduce themselves to the businesses. I mean, it's letting the businesses know, isn't it, that they are there, and then it's what the marshals are doing, so they would know the limit of their power and responsibility. It would just be up to them to introduce themselves to the businesses.
Sorry, Mark, can I just throw in a quick question? I think Kate and I talked about it some evening. You also probably need to arrange building Unit 14 somewhere where they can go and.
They used to use the town hall, but obviously not.
Yeah.
I've put Unit 14 in the brew.
Yeah. And then we'll get charged for the rent from Unit 14, so that will increase.
Right. So is that something? Does somebody want to propose?
I did propose it.
You have proposed it. Right.
So anyone is second it?
Yeah, I'll second that.
We'll vote.
Okay.
All in favour?
Oh, hang on. Let's not. You seem to have an interest in this because I do run a venue in the town, so it's probably better that I'm not involved in the decision.
Okay, I'll do it then. All right, I'll second.
So all in favour? Yeah. So we will go ahead.
Talking about people, like who to include in all of that decision.
So what I can do, currently the pub watch scheme isn't running, but I can give you the pub watch contact list, which will enable you to contact all the venues in the town.
All right. Good. Thank you. Item 12, website proposals. To note the tenders for creation of a new website, over to Katie.
Yeah, so this is just that you'll have seen the email that's gone around this week about having gone out to tender. I attached the brief to it as well to say that we're looking at various website designers to come up with a more accessible, more secure website, and the tenders are now coming back in, so it's the last week of Christmas, so yeah, the deadline's the end of this week. And I'll call a strategy and comms working group to look at those proposals in the new year.
So one thing I had is, shouldn't the request right, that goes out to tender, be approved by council first, so council makes a request of what it thinks it needs, which I think is ideal, and and shouldn't, maybe that could be for full. I'd imagine, if anything, the Communications Working Party would come and say, look, this is what we think we need to provide, and then council would approve that, and we'll find someone to deliver it. That's all.
Isn't it a case of making sure that the officer responsible makes sure that what we're putting out to bid is compliance with what we need?
No,
it's a compliance issue, isn't it?
Well, it's not compliant. The current website's compliant. That's not an issue. What it is what we're trying to achieve in terms of web presence, which I think is really important. So we need to decide what service we want to give the public. So having watched our web traffic for the last few years fairly closely and watched how people interact with it and spent a lot of time researching what other councils do, I think it's really important that the council decides what it wants to achieve from the website. Now, when that website was originally envisaged, it would be a high maintenance website. That was actually regularly maintained, lots of news, create a large degree of interaction to sell and broadcast council services. Now, that's not going to work for a variety of reasons. It takes too much time and effort and expertise to update. So you tend to find a lot of the other councils have now pared back. So good examples would be Wellingborough, Taunton, quite a lot of websites. So what they've done is they've pared back. They've started to only really provide information about essential council services, easy access to documents, and they've made those things very easy to find, very simple, and they've dispensed with other things like let's tell people all about events and nice whizzy pictures and all the stuff that website was meant to do. So that to me would be part of a strategy that council should probably agree, but looking at our resources, the general expertise, and also how much people actually interact with the website, I think that will probably be a better way forward if council agrees.
That's not what it's saying. What it's saying is that they're going out to tender, and once they've received that, then that will be referred to the Media and Communications Working Party, who will in turn bring it to this F&O committee. Once we've decided who we're looking at, we can start to work creatively with them to decide all how we want it designed, what features we need, what we want to achieve from the website. This is just a very early stage, isn't it?
Oh, sorry. Process. I thought when you went out for a tender, you asked for what you want, and then people tendered how much it would cost to deliver.
Well, there is still the capability for us to go back and negotiate. So we've got these, however many people come back, I think I've got 5 at the moment. Right. So we can look at it and we can pair it back, we can decide what we want. One of them's built a whole website for us to be able to look at and have that feel for it. So it's definitely the beginning of a process of negotiation, but I wanted to get something done, something underway so that we could move forward rather than debating what, it just takes forever.
Yeah. I think I say that, well, it's really good. I think that it's definitely something that should go back to Media and Communications Working Party. We want to get it right. We want to make sure that the website is, basically the big objectives will be is fit for purpose, and it decides what its purpose is the biggest one. So that's
we also,
really positive.
but it needs to be two-way traffic. So I think it's very difficult, once you've established who you're going to work with, to get their input into how they can take the website as well as us telling them what we want. There's this creative model that has to work. And you can't do that with a number of companies all through a bid process. You need to decide who you're comfortable to work with, ultimately who you think is going to help you design this amazing website.
Well, we don't want, this is the thing, if we want amazing. So looking at, as I said earlier, a lot of the councils I've looked at up and down the country have realised that amazing is not what they're after. So a great example might be the Bath and North East Somerset website, which has no pictures on it basically. The website I was working on today, you might have used before, which is gov.uk, doesn't have any pictures on it, doesn't have full accessibility, but they try their best. So what they've realised is they need to provide a service, and they do it as well as possible, whereas some websites go down from them.
I want amazing, and whatever your definition of amazing is, I want it. I mean, okay, there are problems with the existing one. So just trying to find documents on the existing one is. I want it to encourage residents to want to be involved and understand what we're doing, and participate. So in that point of view, I want
That's
it to be
what-
amazing enough to
Well,
attract
you say that, but I said that earlier, but the thing is, it's interesting, that's a really good viewpoint, and it's something to take into account. But in order to attract residents for a council website like that, does come with issues, overheads, costs, maintenance. It does become difficult, and there are other ways. So originally the website was envisaged as partly tourist information, partly broadcasting, all that sort of thing. If you look at the way Froome do it, for instance, Froome have 2 websites using the same sort of theme. One to just provide agendas and council news, and one which they've done which is much more like Visit Froome, and they look very, very similar. So these are questions we should answer, and we're all in violent agreement about it, but I think it's important we ask what we want, because if you ask the wrong people about a website, you might end up spending quite a lot of money on something which looks great but it's difficult to maintain, and maintenance is most of the cost.
We have gone out to tenders. I know who they are. Katie knows who they are. We have gone out to tenders who deal with council websites.
Yeah. So I think
They know what they're doing.
so that's all in place,
So
and
when it
all these
comes to this-
discussions can happen once we get the tenders in, and we can.
Yeah.
With people who are presumably interested in the communications and strategy.
We've got the knowledge and
No, I was just going to say
expertise.
we're having our website done at the moment as well, and I don't know if they've all sort of replied to your tender like ours, but it was a sort of block work depending on hours, depending on what you want it to do, and that you go through that, and you know the price goes up or down depending on what you want really. So I think that can be hammered out.
Exactly. I mean, there are basically
once we've
pro forma
started to work with.
town council websites now, which are just sort of fairly vanilla but smart and functional websites, which means
Well, I
they're
think we
very
can
easy to
look
find
at them
information.
when they come in, can't we?
Yeah.
Evaluate them, but the
If
We've got a whole
meeting,
range of
whenever
different ones.
Yeah, okay.
So
and that will be you'll forward that on.
I will organise the strategic communications working group in the new year.
Fantastic, that's good. Right, what's next then? Oh look, it's
Here we
the
are.
discussion of the budget.
Item 13,
Again.
you can make it up.
Excellent. 12A, 12B. Right, so Kate's in position with the computer. Before we do that, Cheryl had put forward very kindly put a lot of effort into this, just having started on the town council. So can I invite Cheryl to just sort of take us through your proposals, your...
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So obviously, Monday the 4th for council meeting was my first meeting, and a lot of things were suggested at that meeting over the budget, and I think we were looking at anything from 19 to 30% reset, depending on what type of suggestions you were looking for. And clearly, I think council wasn't in a position to make a decision. There were issues around possible liability with the community trust and with the council project for both the town hall and the Stone Centre, and what could be potential liabilities for that. There was clearly preferences expressed by certain councillors for certain projects, and I felt that the best thing to do would be to kind of like try and bring as much together as possible, and at least put a stake in the sand and try and bring down the percentage increase in precept. So the first thing I did was I went through all of Kate's lovely notes, every single note, every single line item. I went through all of that. I also did some research. And what you should see, I think it's on the shared drive, isn't it? Kate, it has, hopefully the changes will all saved. But I put quite a lot of notes, and then I thought, you know what, I'll just put it into a presentation so you can see how my thought processes worked. So most of the information is on that proposal, if you read it through. But there are other things that obviously haven't been allocated, and there's been some questions that I've raised in there. So I would value, obviously, the input of the officers, because as far as I'm aware, I'm at least 6 years out of date on things like legislation and everything else, so I don't know what's current. I think one of the things that has concerned me, which perhaps not necessarily today you can comment on, was the Avon pension fund deficit. Given what the actuarial report said the town council should be paying, not just next year, but in previous years, and actually the town council has shown in its figures it's paid £1,000 more, so I think somebody needs to look at that, why we paid more than we should have done based upon the actuarial reports. So for the most part, there have been some savings that I've made. I've also stripped out quite a lot of the projects that were suggested by the strategic I've explained the reasoning behind that in PowerPoint. That doesn't mean to say that they've gone completely. There may be provision in the professional fees for consultancy or something like that. The one thing that I did find, which I think is mainly responsible for bringing that precept down to 14.75% increase, was that if you look at the lease, the draft lease for the town hall, when community trusts take it over, they're paying the rent to the town council, not the town trust. The agreement is between the town council and the community trust, because the town trust doesn't take ownership for 2 years. So that put £5,000 worth of income into the top line, and that really has emphasised slightly bringing down the precept, because that income is being used to contribute towards the expenditure. So basically, I'm commending the budget as it stands for tweaking, and my suggestion is that if anybody wants to add more expenditure in, that they propose where it should be taken away from, so you have a balance. Because if everybody's just proposing more expenditure, then you still haven't reached the end of the budgeting process today, which you really need to do. So, as far as I got is in the PowerPoint, where the savings are, why those savings have been suggested, and then also additional expenditure, because there were, if you go through Kate's line item, she was very clear, I haven't put a figure in here, I need council to supply it. So I went through and I did. And that includes things like the website, it includes other things. So all in the spreadsheet, every box where I've got a question or a note, or maybe there are still answers required, is highlighted in yellow. Okay, so those are the ones where you can see where I've changed things, and anything that's highlighted in a different colour font in the figures, that's also been changed. Having said that, from where we were to where we are now, I'd just like to throw in a few more suggestions that might give you some more wiggle room. And again, this is up to the RFO to advise. But I noticed that you've got the new Summer Valley Rediscovered, which is on the final page of the spreadsheet. If you look on the right-hand side, it's note number 109, and it says earmark reserves. So that is an earmark reserve, potentially capital expenditure. I noticed that you've also got 3 capital projects: Wellow Garden of Friendship and St Chadswell for 1,000. So my question will be to the RFO: is it possible? And also, there's notice boards 4,000. Is it potentially possible to use, for instance, still money from earmark reserves against those capital items of expenditure, which means that they would ostensibly come out of your revenue
You can't
budget?
use still on notice boards.
You can't use still on notice boards.
It's not on Wayne's list.
Okay, it's worth a try. So are there any projects in there that potentially SIL or other earmark reserves can use instead of reserves? There aren't any. Okay. So, forget that one then. The only other thing that I would say is that obviously, as a precautionary measure, we haven't put any interest in from the savings account.
The moment the 600,000 comes out, that will come out January, February, will drop.
But is there any potential interest, like £3,000 to £4,000 that could be
We're
paid on
getting
that?
3,000 a month. I don't know. That's an unknown. I don't know until the
Right.
figures drop.
In that case, then I don't see that there's any further wiggle room, and so therefore I'm commending you a proposal that's a stake in the ground that hopefully takes account of the fact it gives you 10,000 extra for youth services. It doesn't address giving staff and consultancies. It takes that money out until such time as personnel review with the town council staff what should constitute a staff member's responsibilities, what should constitute a consultant's responsibilities, how does that relate to how we deal with the town trust, and how does that relate to what happens with the community trust, because at one point there was a proposal to pay staff for the community trust. But unless and until there is with some type of strategic review on that through personnel committee and a really good chat with these lovely ladies who are still new to the job. I mean, it's very clear that the town council is going to be taking on an awful lot of stuff going forwards. It's really important that the town council has got a complement of staff with the necessary skills to support all those activities. And I think that is from the point you then look at, so are we going to spend money on consultants? Are we going to spend money supporting other organisations in terms of staffing? How are we going to do that? Because there's no plan at the moment. And this was the best I could come up with at 3 o'clock in the morning to give you youth services a contingency, which I think from talking with the mayor, it doesn't have to be the town hall capital projects contingency, it could just be in a separate code called projects contingency, so it gives you some wiggle room for the solar centre and the town hall, as we talked about at the last meeting, what happens if there's a liability. It does give you some wiggle room for consultants if needed. I did take out the consultant for the strategic working party because I can facilitate that. There's no point paying £5 for a consultant when you've got the skills on board. So I think I've tried to get the best to put a stake in the ground. And then I would just suggest is that if you're going to wiggle it around, if you're going to take with one hand, you've got to give back with another. Do you see what I mean? So if you're going to make a proposal to add in £10,000 for security, where are you going to take £10,000 from? Overall, and this is just looking at the amount of precept and tax paid by residents just to the town council without police, fire or anything in, if my calculations are correct, I don't know if they are, please tell me if they're wrong, I made it 33 pence increase with a 14.75%. It's at 33p a week.
I haven't worked it out because I haven't got a tax base yet.
No, but if we assumed it was the old tax base, it would be 33p a week.
Okay.
So there you go.
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl. Does anybody want to make any comments on Cheryl's proposal this time?
Well, thank you, Cheryl. Brilliant. Obviously, a lot of work went in it, and it's there's a lot of items which I don't think I'd have thought to review, which you did really well. I'm really glad. I'm really glad that we managed to finish.
That's all right. Go on, keep going. We're not ready for that yet.
No.
Maybe take the lead out and plug it back in. Okay.
Can I break for a toilet
Of course
while
you
we're sorting
can.
the computer?
Yeah.
Thank you. I need to drink.
I might snap a glass of this. This is going to be...
Popcorn's always salty. Yeah. Have they got a bunch of cups down there?
Thank you. Flapjack insert. I must have had it in my pocket. A credit card. Did you go today?
No, I couldn't make it today.
I didn't. We had our grotto, so I need to go.
Next to the lid then.
Again, ready.
Should I see something to
Just while we're not in session, there is a new WECA grant that's just been launched. I published it on the Cannington Community Facebook page because they're having terrible problems with shoplifting and antisocial behaviour in the high street. WECA have launched a shop safely. It's open now. It shuts in January. For any business in the high street that wants to actually get match funding towards security cameras and other shoplifting prevention things on the WECA website.
I've read about that, but I didn't read the details. Well done. Right, we all good?
We're going to wait for Kate to come back. Sorry.
Match funding grant.
I'm on a grant newsletter from the Southwest that I've got on, which is really interesting. So I'll forward it to you now. It's from a lady called Daphne Marston. And you can just get written on the mailer.
Yeah.
So if you wonder what I'm forwarding to you, that's what it
That's
is.
what it is. Okay, thanks.
There's some really good sport, lionesses, football ones, and local grassroots female sport, loads of random things.
Right, are we good?
Yeah, just before we go on and because Kate's going to present her budget proposal again, and then we've got sort of two on the table really.
Are we not going to come back to what Cheryl said?
Yeah, but so on what we are, but I don't know whether we'll see what Kate brings up, and then we can discuss the two maybe and see where we are.
Maybe. Well, I wanted to come back on Cheryl's suggestions, to be honest. And I think the first thing I thought was really good was the fact that you managed to keep some provision for a youth club thing. It's one of the things that's been so much feedback about, and the fact that, you know, the strategy working party talked long and hard about this, and we thought, well, a way to use the summer centre productively would be a youth club. So if some provision could be made for that, I think it'd be amazing. Yep. Am I right in saying that you did make provision for some sort of fundraising?
Sorry, we're moving into a debate now, aren't we?
I'm just asking a question. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just saying, did you make provision for fundraising assistance in that budget? Because your slides
I left
said...
staffing costs at 155,000 as proposed by the RFO.
Right.
The same, and that was for someone to look at grants.
Right.
However, I think in the notes say, is it possible to build in other activities to that, not just grants? Because if you've got somebody with business development skills, then they could potentially help with some of the other areas, like for instance the NDP or the Strategy Working Party or whatever.
Okay.
They've got that type of skill set.
Okay. Is that something that we are looking to budget for then, Katie? Or Kate, do you know? Because I think you mentioned it to me first, and I thought it was a great idea that if we can get some external assistance to help us with being better at seeking grants, and also that expertise could be shared across the trusts, that might put the whole council and its trusts in a much better position. And we don't have that expertise in-house at the moment.
No, but you told me to go away and get tenders for a business consultant to look at the community trust as a whole, which I've done.
Right.
And for a grant fundraiser, which I've done. So
Okay.
those are out.
Right.
So
well
when
done.
I've got bids in, then I'll
thank you.
share them.
I didn't realise that. I didn't mean to tell you to do anything.
No.
But
that was decided that.
But that is something we're kind of budgeting for, that there would be a cost associated with that. I'm just checking.
It was on there, yeah.
It is, yeah, I thought it was. I just wanted to double check.
Yeah.
That's great.
No.
I might ask a question, please, Chair, on that.
Would you like to ask a question? No? Not really?
You spent, can I not say something?
If you want to move over there, then you can see the screen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm advised by the clerks as to whether the other councillors can interject it.
You can suspend standing orders at any moment.
You can invite people to...
Right, okay, then Deborah would like to say.
So basically, the council spent 11 grand last year for raising for grant funding, and they got no grants at all. So I'm just going to say, if you're going to do that and fork out money, you need to have some sort of contingency in there, like almost like a no-win, no-fee, but not really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to have to be, they're going to be doing work, but you can't spend £11,000 and they delivered nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
pointless.
No, one question actually, I remember you mentioned that before. Whenever a grant bid fails, I believe there's a lot of feedback. There should be a lot of feedback about why it's failed and what you should do in future. I've been told about that with lottery grants and other stuff. Is that not true? Not for everyone. Because I thought the point is to try and learn from why your grants have failed, and then you can adapt your policies to suit the grants in future. I'd heard. I'm no grant expert, which is why maybe we need external help. Mary.
No, just so I'm just adding in a little comment. Right. So I'm adding in the 5,000. I've just put everything in a line because I haven't got a line in there for the moment. So I'm going to do the budget.
Yeah, you all right?
Yeah.
On my screen. The little column here, I put here. I'm going to put a yes or a no. I'm going to go through this quite quickly so we know which bits you're happy on. So 155 salaries, that's inclusive 25,000. You don't need to go to proposal second, I'm just going to ask a question and whiz to it. Saying yes for a grants officer, or if not a grants officer, another admin officer. Because I have a friend who's a clerk who has the same precept, and she was amazed. We only had 4 members of staff, she has 7. So I am recommending
Which, can you know which council that was? It's always good to compare.
It's near Milton Keynes.
Near Milton Keynes, okay. It's just because, you know,
It's not really
our council's kind of, what's the word we call for it? Is it the triumvirate? Triumvirate. Anyway.
Should that not be more then than what you've just said?
You can be, well, yeah, I've put an extra 25,000 on top of what you paid salaries.
And will that, because next year the national living wage goes up,
Yes.
doesn't it? Will that, well, internally for me that bumps
So
everyone else up in my business, so
Well-
would that be the same here within reason?
Well,
I know you're above that, but you know what I mean. But I don't know if everyone else who might come in.
yeah, so
would
I
be-
can change the figure, but that's,
I'm just sort of putting it out there. If we haven't got enough staff, we need more staff. Then.
yeah, so that's
So
another
25 grand is not a lot.
No.
Well, that was originally for a fundraising assistant, sort of like a
That's
contract
what I'm
thing.
saying. So
you know.
if we do get a contractor in for a fundraising assistant, that doesn't leave a lot for a full-time admin assistant
Yeah,
or
but
a
it could be a
part-time.
part-time admin. Somebody to help Joe.
So wouldn't that
That's a
have
very
to-
big cost.
Wouldn't that suggest you have to come through our staffing committee? I think?
Yes,
Okay, sorry.
so you need a figure in there.
Right.
561.
So
Okay.
if you have them, I'm going to put yeses. So that national insurance is a yes. That's a yes because that's all pension. The payroll administration is Codex. I put a yes there because that's who we pay to do the payroll and that's their price for next year. Training, I've actually kept 7,000. I know Cheryl has taken it down to 2,000. I shall tell you the reason why. I've kept it at 7. Within our contract, it does say the council shall be responsible for any costs associated with any training and development it considers necessary. I am doing the community governance in February. I have signed up and I have been accepted. So I will be starting in February. So there will be a proposal coming to contribute 2,500 a year for the next 2 years. Within Katie's contract is, and that was part of her interview, is the council pay for her silver. That's £1,000. So if it's only £2,000, that's hardly budget on already. If there are two conferences, national conferences, as officers, we can attend. If we both go to both conferences, that's £2,000. So, you've wiped out your budget figure straight away. So it's better to put money in there than and allocate it. Yes, I am doing, I know you can say no, to various things, but put money in there. If you don't spend it, then you can transfer it. It's easier to do it that way around than to try and find the money from somewhere else. So I won't put a yes on that.
I'm actually, I'm saying that needs to stay.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's my reason behind the step.
Yeah.
So
Anyone disagree with that? Because as far as I'm concerned, we've got a new clerk, deputy clerk. They need to be supported with relevant training, and we need the budget to do it.
Well, I think our first priority is probably for Katie to get Silka qualification.
That'll make me general power. That'll give us.
Make you competent.
And make
Yes.
me competent.
No, exactly. But that is obviously the first priority, and whatever we can do to make that happen would be
anyway, the
very welcome.
£500 is in there because the previous, I'll have to look at my notes here. The previous clerk signed up to a 3-year contract with a legal employment company. You have a 3-year contract, you got rid of it. Finishes in 2025, so that's in there. We don't use it, but we pay for it. Jobless and subsistence, mileage, 200. I'm putting yeses, if I put those, put workwear. I've only put 400. Workwear is days. Does he need new shoes and stuff? 19, I haven't put anything for that because miscellaneous staff costs. We shouldn't actually have miscellaneous staff costs. Water rates, Cheryl had doubled. We've actually paid the full rates this year anyway. Because it gets paid twice a year, we've actually paid those rates.
Where are we?
Right.
So that's nothing. No, so it's right. 300. I'm just trying to compare.
So that should be 400. because we paid 372. Actually, no. Well, I'll check those figures. I'll leave those blank.
Water rates.
But we've paid the full rates, water rates.
Okay.
One is for the allotments. So you have to get, if you change, you have to go to the community association. The town environment, that's for the hollies. We pay. Why we pay the water rates on the hollies, I don't know. I'm trying to solve that, but we don't. Rent payable is rent that we pay, whether rent. So, you happy for me to put the yeses in? The rent is what we pay. The water rates I'll leave.
What's the rent for?
The rent 22 is unit 14.
Right.
But I've put it in there, but I've put it's higher 12 twice a month at £12 a session for open house. They don't charge us for the office, which equates to that figure in year. But if the office is moved to the solar centre, unit 14 will no longer be required, but we don't know we're moving, so again it's put something in.
Okay.
The Wellerbrook, that's to the duchy, so we pay for Wellerbrook, so that.
Hang on a second, can I go back? Sorry, it takes me a while to catch up because it's quite slow,
I'm
slow
probably
brain.
gonna go
I was going to say, so the rent payable thing, what was that we just said?
the rent payable, that is what we pay unit 14 for the open surgeries Mondays and Thursday afternoons.
Right, for when the council uses it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, okay.
They don't charge us for the office space, they just charge us Mondays and Thursday afternoons.
Well, that's fair enough, because it's a pretty small office space you've got. Okay, that's fine.
Well, that would go up wherever we relocated.
Yeah,
They
so
should.
that might be.
Somerset would be
I'll have-
expecting more, and the town.
that we may go somewhere else, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I wrote this back in September.
Right.
Yeah.
But then if we go, like, so I'm just going to say though, it's like, I'm sorry to go over these things because I do struggle to keep up, but if that line, 4013 rent payable, which has nothing on it, is that right? What am I looking at?
No, it's not. You're
Because
looking
they're
at
below.
the-
Oh, that's the
They're
one
broken
below.
down
Sorry.
into the two.
Yes, sorry. So it says 1250,
Yeah.
right? That's right. But we would probably expect that to be, correct me if I'm wrong, £4,000 because that's what the rent on the town hall will be when the council moves back in.
That's 1250 is what we pay unit 14
Yes.
for the use.
But if the office were to move into the office in the town hall, we'd expect it to be 4,000, wouldn't we? Because that's what
Why?
it's in.
Why are we paying 4,000?
Because that's in the business plan that Caroline made. That's what she said. She'd expect the council to rent the room
It
for.
depends whether Kate means that's the unit 14 ongoing
But this
cost
is
Right.
written, so you
provisional
can put that to
or the town
4,000.
council.
But then you're also expecting the community trust to pay us £5,000.
Oh God, hang on,
So
I'm confused now.
I
Help,
think,
help.
I think that's an area that needs to be explored as we go on as to what the business model should look like.
Okay, fair enough. Do you know what? I probably should have mentioned it. Next time I'm stuck, I'm just going to say nothing.
No, you're right to raise it, Gordon,
It's
because
fair enough.
when we have talked about it before, whether it's the Somer Centre, the Somer Centre, the rents people pay, we were looking at a higher figure, weren't we? And
Yeah.
expecting, because the rent would go to the community trust to manage the, wouldn't it go to the community trust to manage the buildings, which...
Didn't Cheryl point out that if we were renting a room in the town hall, that money would obviously go to ourselves, unlike the community, the Summer Centre, because that's owned by the trust. Because the council owns the town hall, so effectively it would literally be paying itself.
We're paying it, right.
Yeah.
Because
But you might
it's
want to
not
pop. It might
part
want to
of
pop in a
the-
maintenance pot if it's being thrifty,
Right,
but
yeah.
because it owns the town hall.
I'm moving on. We haven't put anything for cleaning, sanitation, hygiene or refuse disposal. But seeing the information that's come out from Baines this week, we don't pay for it anyway, but they're cutting back on it. And the refuse things, so you may need something in there. 26, that's for the defibrillator, so that's a charge that we pay anyway. Cheryl put 2,000 in there, 2,500 for a health and safety consultant to cover town council activities to ensure legal compliance. That's the governance is covered by an internal external auditors, so I've actually taken changed from the original subscriptions as the ICO, the SLCC, the ALC, subscriptions. I'm going to put a yes there. So the station publications I've left blank for the moment. Insurance, this is a very difficult one, because at the moment your insurance is 14,000.
It's huge.
It's huge because I'm actually hoping to reduce it. I'm going to put a yes there because it was, you budgeted 7,000. When you took out your insurance policy, all of the buildings were included in your. So you are paying insurance for Unit 14, the Solar Centre, the Orchard Hall. You shouldn't be paying for those.
They are already insured.
They are already
Right,
insured.
so
They
they
are
pay
insured twice. Then, so that's why it jumped up.
Sorry, they're insured where?
For Baines, the trust paid for the Unit 14. Solar Centre is done by the Community Association. Orchard Hall is done by Baines.
What, buildings and contents?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can't do anything because insurance companies won't talk to me in 90 days out. So but it will be after the 8th of January. So some of those buildings need to come out.
Right.
Because we're paying insurance for buildings that you're not responsible for.
Hang on,
And
does
also
that mean...
the trusts should be paying for their own insurance anyway. It should be coming out of the town
Mm.
council. It should be going through the
But
trust.
are they? Have we confirmed that the town trust are paying the insurance on those buildings?
Yes, yes. Joe does it.
So and also, so I'm hoping to delete it.
Have we already accidentally overpaid? Sorry, what to come in?
Yes.
So
Yes.
we've actually... Did we get that money back?
No.
Oh goodness, so how do we know how much money we've accidentally lost then?
For clarification. So in the draft agreement that you very kindly sent me, there is something that, so the community trust pay the town council the rent, and they also pay what's called the insured risk. And the agreement states very clearly, it hasn't been signed yet, the agreement states very clearly that whoever owns the asset insures the building, but that agreement means that there is an amount paid by the community trust to cover that insured amount. That was what I took away from the draft agreement.
We were told by the County Commission that if, say, the community town trust is responsible for the town hall, they pay the entire insurance. We would obviously insure our own stuff.
That's fine, but if we look through those documents that we have for the town trust, I'm not sure I saw the buildings insurance in there.
Yeah. So
And I'm sure that you're right that they should be paying it. I just want to say, can we be sure that they are paying it before we cancel our own?
Yes, in there. So I'm
Was that
hoping
going to
I'm hoping to bring it down. Our insurance has also gone up by £1,000 because the refurbishment's gone over 12 months. They've sent us another £1,000.
Of course. And the other thing is that we don't want is to take that off of there and then find that we get another grant application from the town trust because they can't afford to pay the insurance.
No, so I'm keeping it at 14,000.
Sorry, can we go through that? Because all the buildings, these assets are different, aren't they, really? So the Orchard Hall is a Baines owned, and the activities run in it a community trust.
So the Orchard Hall is leased to the town council. You sublease it to the town trust.
That's the complicated one, isn't
it? To the community trust.
So who's paying the buildings and contents for that?
Town trust.
The town trust is...
Baines pay it, town trust or community trust, we pay Baines.
It's
Who? The community trust or
the
the
town
town
trust aren't involved in the
No, town trust aren't.
That's just one. That's one that it is.
So the community
it goes
trust...
Baines, town council, community trust for the Orchard Hall. The town trust aren't involved.
Yeah, so community trust pay the buildings and contents insurance, right? And
But
so...
it's in your...
Yes. So, and then
But it
so
shouldn't
for the
be.
Soma Centre, you're saying the community association that are leasing it at the moment pay the buildings and contents insurance, right? But the town trust isn't responsible for doing that, even though it owns the building. That it
I
isn't
think
responsible
the
for paying the buildings insurance.
I think that the town trust pays for the buildings insurance and the community association pays for the contents.
Yeah.
That would seem.
But the building is in the town council insurance.
That shouldn't be though, should it?
Shouldn't be.
Right.
Yeah, it should be in the
Also-
town trust. Yeah.
Regardless
It's
of
a
should or
double
shouldn't,
thing.
I think it's prudent to leave that amount in there
Yeah.
until such time as we've established that everything is insured.
But I won't.
But only once though. One insurance might
Oh,
do.
actually, only once.
Yeah,
But at the moment, we're in danger of either duplication or big gaps. So we
That's
need
a
to.
huge
Leave a
amount.
figure in there. I can't talk to insurance companies till after the budget's agreed.
Okay.
Because they only talk 90 days out. Or less. And that's after the end.
So
they're sat
then
there
finally
going,
then the town hall, which is owned by the town council, and it's going to be leased to the community trust, and they're being expected to pay the builders and contents on that, or is it
We'll pay our own.
right? So we'll pay, but right, okay.
Council will pay.
And was that happening before? Do you know, or is the community trust?
Yes, the council pays
Well,
the
be-
buildings insurance.
Yeah.
That's what we've had all this an occupancy and all the rest of it,
Yeah.
all these loopholes we've had to stitch back up.
So we're going to sort all that out. Right, that's good. Carry on,
Right.
Kate.
So that was the photocopying, that's the charge for the photocopier.
What number is it?
But we do find that the community trust are also using the photocopier. Because, and we haven't charged them because we're getting the office rent for it. So,
hang on, what?
Friends.
yeah,
Okay.
the community trust use the photocopier, we get rent free, they haven't
No.
been charged the photocopier costs. Where the photocopy is going, I don't know.
That's on top of the £2,000 you've got for stationery, and
This is just the charge to have the copy.
that's the higher cost of the copy. Okay.
Yes, so
That's fine.
that is the lease of the machine, and then they charge us for mono charges and colour charges. And obviously I've had to estimate it because I don't know how much actual photocopying we're doing.
That's fine.
Put the leases in there. 39 is 710. I'm going to put a yes by there because I'm being too listed. That's for So Vision. Microshade will go, it's going, Realtus, all the software stuff, and at the moment the website's in there, but that may need to come out if we move it, because at the moment the website is hosted by So Vision, but it may go somewhere else.
And you're confident we don't need any hardware in terms of laptops or...
No, Katie and I,
We're all fully...
we got new laptops. I said no at the beginning, but then I went, because I was using my personal one.
Okay, good.
Everything's going online, so the server is going. So we've just bought the asset that was mentioned in the internal report. We just bought the asset module, so I'm working my way to putting all the assets on. And we're going to the cloud-based version.
Talk about Realtus, the accountancy software.
Okay.
Until April, because it's a very complicated system, but it is at the moment for clients and posted. So the pension deficit, Cheryl was taken down. I kept saying, because Jo has done quite intensive training on, Jo is the pension lady, she's done quite intensive training, this is the figures that they've given her. And then also, if you're taking on more staff, you're gonna have to do a pension allocation anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a yes by that, but you can change it.
Is it worth trying to find out what the correct figure is
We pay the correct figure.
for the pension deficit? Right, okay. But is it worth trying to see how it's calculated? I don't know, it's just when two people are saying there's different numbers. I'm kind of going,
complicated. Joe's done, I listened into what I know,
Right.
I've got lots of things.
so we should ask Joe.
But then, if you employ more staff, you do have quite high pension contributions, don't you think much?
Well, we're not looking at employing more staff.
Well, I was going to
are we,
say,
in the
this
next
is a
budget.
Bit of an
All
assumption.
we're looking at is the grant funder, which wouldn't be pay the staff, would it?
Yeah, contract.
So we're not. But anyway, that's the.
That's what we've been given by the pension company.
Yeah. Well, we could. Yeah, that might be another thing to discuss at the.
Yeah, so I'll
Full
take
council.
that at the moment then. So I was giving you 40, so not very, very far. That £800 is, I'm going to put a yes by that, because that is the quarterly inspection by Baines. Baines do it quarterly, and they're actually cheaper than other companies, so we'll just start with Baines. So these figures I'm just going to skim through, because, town environment, West Clears wet ground, equipment maintenance, you've got a playground there, it's going to be maintained. 49. That's your notice boards. That's your notice boards. Which, again, you don't have to have, because they're community notice boards that you talked about a couple of months ago.
I think it's the ones that have been taken down? No.
I don't know, which notice was
Are these the rubber signage ones?
No, it was
the
just-
ones that came a couple of months ago that you want to buy and install some new community notice boards.
Mm.
And it was referred back to the age strategy working group, and then they brought it back to me. It
We'll
was
save £4 on that, then get trash.
I think that could be a town trust
yeah.
issue business, couldn't it?
So anyway,
Yes, we look at-
I definitely think it might be worth investigating a little bit more to see if it could be a SIL project, because SIL I did write to the SIL monitoring officer, and I've asked a whole bunch of questions, and their website is fairly vanilla, but basically it's set by government, and SIL money can be used, for instance.
Everybody said she's looked into it. You can't use it.
So £1,000, that's the same as last year's. That's the tax, furniture, equipment.
So you're leaving the four in for the
I'm leaving the 4 in for the
right.
I haven't
Put
got a yes
don't put
or no.
anything next to it.
Yes or no, right. The furniture and equipment for the town environment, I think that's been doubled, because you've got £1,000 in there, and then further down you've got £1,000 in capital projects for the town park. But so I'll leave that at the moment. Property maintenance, I said that should need to be increased, but we haven't allocated anything against it this year, and you haven't spent against it, so I think it's gone against a different cost item.
So is that 54, is it?
54,
So is that for all of the assets?
Central services, it's central services is staff and the office.
Sorry, just go back. So if we haven't spent any money on property maintenance, where is the money coming from to maintain properties?
Well, because
We're not maintaining it.
we're just in unit 14, aren't we?
Well, that worries me in itself, that we're not maintaining any properties.
We're just tenants though, aren't we? We're just renting it, the couple
Yeah,
of shops that is
so either the town trust is responsible for the maintenance of the properties, in which case
Not unit
they're
14.
sorry.
We're talking about unit 14 now.
Yeah, it's owned by Baines.
Oh right, not everything,
Not
all
everything.
the assets.
Okay.
Just unit 14. Right, with you now.
Central services is just like our office, really.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
Ah,
I see.
right. Okay, I think
All
that's
right.
throwing me.
So property maintenance, I'm going to skip to, because that's Stone Barn and Primrose that you reappointed at the full council. So those figures are in there. You reappointed them, I just took them out because I'm skipping.
So all that was right.
So that's all River Barn and Primrose. So you reappointed them at the last couple of weeks ago, so they're in there. Your bank charges are bank charges. Van allowance, that's although it's a van allowance, that's really MOT, tax, petrol. 5,000 is probably quite high, so you can reduce that. Licences, this is a strange one. Apparently 1 year you bought a PPL licence for £100. So that's why it's back in. Again, that should come out.
But it would be the town trust, the community trust that would need a PPL licence for us.
Yeah. So
What's the PPL again?
remove that.
Sorry?
What's a PPL again?
It's an entertainment licence.
Entertainment, right, okay. So they have some of them, and they
Yeah.
can get extras when they need them, I think.
It's to allow you to then use it.
Yeah.
Is it PPL?
I think they may have one just
Well,
online.
PPL and PRS have
Yeah.
merged together now, so they're one organisation.
So legal fees I kept at 5,000, tail fees down to 1,500, but lawyers' fees and solicitors' fees are £300-400 an hour. That's probably 3 hours legal fees. I think the town council will end up having to pay some legal fees in order to leave some kind of sorted out. Again, that's the figure.
69.
You can play with those figures are set in stone because those are your external and internal audit fees. Candidacy support we no longer have. Again, this is more consultancy work share will put it up to 10,000. I came to 8 because there's various reasons. Memorials, you've got a 500, again that can come out. You've got, that's still in there, although I have got a note saying remove Connor Thorne, that's the medium and long term strategy. Mayor's allowance, £250, so that's probably a yes.
You have to make allowances for mayors.
Yes. Civic expenses, I'm not quite sure. Because
Okay.
I,
Can I ask a question? Sorry, before you whiz on again. So, am I understanding this? The legal and professional fees 4059, which is £8,000, and the legal fees 4055.
yeah, they're duplicated.
All right.
For some reason, you've got legal fees and legal and professional fees. I think set up the codes.
Right. That okay.
So
I see. Okay, so we don't really know.
Is more, it's all, they're both consultancies and both legal, so those, you know, I don't know what the legal fees are going to be. But they're charged £300-400 an hour because I looked up.
And that's like sorting out leases.
Yeah.
Can I hate to interrupt, but I'm going to. I'm really sorry. No, see, I know we're going through everything, which is great, and we're going at the speed of light, which is wonderful as well. But if we whiz by something like, say, the medium and long-term strategy, which ironically, I was going to say, should we just take it out?
Take it out.
Well, I'm asking everybody. I'm just saying because it was.
Well, I'm just whizzing through it, and the ones without yeses on.
You're going to take it later. I just want to check.
The
So.
ones without yeses and yes, you can claim it.
Right.
I think it's at this stage it's right to highlight these things in red.
Right.
And now we've got the red ones.
Okay.
To look at afterwards.
Right. Okay. That's fine. Just check what the plan is.
So the
That's fine.
civic expenses, that's for your civic awards, and I don't quite know why, because you've always got civic awards. I'll leave that for a moment. I'm just whizzing through it. Hire of meeting rooms is the hire of this place. So I'm going to put a yes there, but then when you're back in the town hall, you can use the town hall. But then in the assembly, you need something in case. Something. Meeting room expenses, I'm actually going to delete it because you don't have any meeting room expenses. You don't need £50. Grants, we'll get onto the grants now. Right, so the suggestion is to reduce that to 20,000. Because you only do grants now twice a year. I think in January you're going to have to do a publicity or notice or something to say we only now do it twice a year, otherwise people will miss out. So like the Carnival Club will see it in there, we can have the money, can we have the money? And I went, no, you still need to apply for a grant. But you're only doing it January and July, so they need to get it in July. So I think in January something's got to go out and say, we now only do grants twice a year.
Yeah.
You've got to get it anyway. Anyway, that was just a thought I had.
So I suggested it should be, as we're only doing it twice a year, it should be £10,000 twice a year. This current year we're over, but we did start off £7,000 down on our 19,000 budget on day one. So I think two events, each has £10,000 budget to allocate in grants. I think is perfectly reasonable, and it's not excessive for the public to stomach that we're deciding where their money goes.
So I'm not putting yeses by these at the moment because these are lots of questions. Christmas parties you didn't have this year because you had no staff. Are you doing the next year? The 4,000 is your media and communication, which actually needs to be moved because it's all in grants. So that's your newsletters, your publication of meetings and stuff like that. Carnival Association I put up to 10 because they've asked for 10,000. It was 8. Do you still do an arts programme?
Yeah.
Do you still do an arts festival?
Yeah.
Christmas fair. Do you still do a Christmas fair?
Yeah. If you want us to.
Remembrance Parade, Cheryl will ask about road closures. Baines don't charge for road closures for Remembrance Day. They charge every other day, but they don't charge for Remembrance. Do you do an Easter fair?
No.
The civic
No.
Yes,
No.
we ended up spending about £800-900 this year on our civic. Christmas lights. Last year you put in 10. It only cost you 3.5. I've put in 5 because again we've had a notification through that the contribution is going to be reduced. So it costs again we don't know. So
We've got a meeting on something like the 4th of January, so actually we will know cost potentially by the 8th.
Yeah, Christmas trees put in 4 because that's what costs. this year. Youth projects and council, that's gone up. Because you had a 2-year contract and each year was 24,000. And within that contract, there was a provision that they could ask to increase the contract values. They have asked it to be increased by 5%, which is your 25,200. So that's the new figure. You don't have to agree to it, but it was.
That's Youth Connect, I think.
That's what they asked for. The 10,000 was that extra use provision for the youth club. Do you do a summer fair? 15,000 is the community trust grant. And then that's again, you've got the town trust grant. Loan charges, I'm putting yeses there because they're correct.
Is Community Trust Grant in red? Is that one of the ones at risk?
Because we changed the figures.
All right.
A couple of meetings
Phew.
ago.
Okay, just checking. Thanks.
So it got put in red. This is the 4th time, so I've been changing figures. This is where I think you've doubled up. Because you've got capital projects in Wellingbrook, Garden of Friendship, St Chad's. This is your 50,000, which we need to discuss. Your IT upgrade, I don't think you really need. Summer Valley discovered, I do need to put an extra line because you've got 5,000 which you committed to the Summer Valley, the structure of the town park. You just committed another 5,000. So that's a yes in there. Civic regalia, this is I hadn't put anything in for the chain. Do you want something in there? And your speed indicator revised. I'm going to put a yes there because the battery, you may need a new battery, so I just put a yes in there. So that brings you down to 565, which is 18.75. And again, you don't think that's my choice.
That's really good, useful.
And there was another question. Cheryl then also wanted 5,000 in for election costs. At the moment, Baines don't pass the cost down.
Oh, don't tell me.
They didn't pass the cost down for this May.
No. Sorry, but they don't charge you for the full yearly election. If you have a by-election,
they don't charge that either.
Really? We've never had one, so I don't think.
change the lines then.
I asked if we had a by-election, we would get charged on there.
Can I ask about the Summer Valley Rediscovered? I thought they were meant to be investing money,
They are.
but we have to
But
sort of
we
match
also
fund it a bit, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it they're doing more of the kind of projects and we're doing a little bit of maintenance to show that we can...
Yeah, I think it's just a contribution from the places that are benefiting to kind of show the willing that we want to make our place a better place for them as well.
No, I just sort of
Well, it's a bit of a token gesture, the amount we pay compared to the overall.
Yes.
Well, I know I
Value.
was wondering, because I know it was, 1.6 million they had for all the areas, don't they, or something?
It's certainly not matched.
Okay.
It's contribution.
Yeah.
We need to start talking figures.
I need to break that a minute as well.
When is our meeting scheduled to finish? Just because was it a 2-hour meeting? Just checking.
He didn't want to go home.
No, goodness no.
Last episode of Vigils, right?
We've still got half an hour.
Half an hour, just checking.
Well, it's done and dusted in 10 minutes.
I think it's quite good to have an eye on the end.
It's really, it's very useful to look at the top line stuff.
So we
isn't it?
need,
And
we
very,
need to agree on some figures that we can then take the 8th on the
Sure,
8th
yeah.
and say,
Yeah. Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl. See you later.
I'm good, so I'm not good.
Oh, fair play.
Well done.
And I can't, thank you. That's,
There you go.
So I'm going to
just wait for Martin. He's just looked out.
So I'm going to go down to the easy part.
Kate.
This is just oh, sorry.
so that's the mode.
Well, please.
Happy Christmas. Yeah, have a lovely summer. I'll see you all in the new year.
Yeah.
Right.
Happy So hang on, red is up for discussion, up for grabs.
Well,
Or
no,
not necessarily.
Sorry, speaker was my fault.
Red is a maybe.
Red
Or
has
discussion.
come
Okay.
from the strategy working party.
So the thing is,
But then I've read. So I presented the budget on Halloween, which was all in black and things. It then went out. Then the strategy party came in with strategy working party came back with various figures which I changed with red. I then had various other changes. So I just changed the red one figures in red. So when you came back the second time, I knew you should be able to change.
Okay, so sorry about that.
We lost Chairman.
I'm going to go back down to the easy bit. Grants. Let's sort this chart out. Are you happy with 20,000?
I mean,
What? So can I say something? Have we got the 15,000 for the community trust? Is that gone? That's down there, right? So that's the wages, basically, isn't it, for the community trust that we as a council have been paying since it started, and it hasn't gone up. There, it's 15. Well, it's 15 they've been paying. It covered went towards Alex, the manager of the trust's wages, and I think also subsidised Beth, the cultural consortium, a little bit. Alex's wages have climbed in that time. We're still paying the same. I know with the community trust, the idea is that it gradually funds itself, but that's the contribution we've been paying, which goes towards. It's not a grant for events, things like that. It's a grant for his wages to manage it and run it in the same way that we're paying the town trust, I suppose, at the moment, although there isn't anybody that's receiving that money. That's the first thing. So I would suggest that changes from red to black, if that's okay with everybody.
if it's only changed from red to black, I would say yes. I thought you were going to suggest we put it up.
Oh, no, I think we keep it.
It's only red.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say put it on.
It really went red because it had been changed.
Yeah, I don't know why it had been changed, but anyway.
Yes in there then.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Then if I go down to the other things, the other grants that the community trust receives are where the town council have asked. Well, some of them. So the one that could change is if the council, or if reminded as this committee to run the Christmas event again, then the two things there, the Christmas parties and the Christmas fair, it could just be one line of a Christmas. I don't think besides the council, we didn't want to run the Christmas parties and the staffing of it, and the community trust decided that it wasn't a good use of manpower and time and money. So if we combine those into a Christmas fair, that's what it cost. £6,000 was more. I wasn't at the meeting.
6,500, I think.
6,500. We did, I don't know if Galix went through the other money that came in through that.
6.5 this year.
Yeah. So, but there are proposals for extending it next year. So this year was a good event. Things like a road closure or extending into. Well, I don't know. What do you think?
Sponsorship?
Yeah, because I would think that would be okay, because we had a donation of £500 from a business, and we had a few £100. I haven't seen the exact figures, but it was 3.5. 350 or 60 was coming in from vendors and things. So, so I think if we keep it at that, and then we'll raise extra money.
Christmas parties, you didn't do this year, obviously, because there was no staff.
So I think we get rid of that.
We've had quite a lot of complaints.
Oh, there was no parties. Well, to be honest, we only had, I don't know how many people. Oh, even Linda there. It wasn't a big turnout, was it? Really? For the Christmas party when we did it last Christmas. It's a nice event to have, but
Which one could you run through? You want a children's and OAPs, and then like a cinema for youths. Isn't the normal?
The Christmas party in the Soma Centre that we did. Yeah, the children's party. And I think the staff.
But
there's only like 40 families, I think. Whereas that money could. It's about the amount of stuff that it took, because it took all the clerks and admin staff.
Because if you're going to put a cost on a project, an event that the town council is going to run itself, my management accounting hat would say you instantly have to also allocate the resources you put into it, which would actually make it seem probably quite expensive to run those events.
It seems that the community trust, when they want to, can put on an event at Welton Rovers without any issue at all, and then we get to a Christmas party and suddenly there's no staff to do it.
Hang on a second.
What I think we ought to do is outsource, if that's the case, have a fixed cost for, if you're going to have a party, you ask someone like Welton Rovers, how much will it cost for you to put this event on? And they've got the bar, they can provide the foods and give us a package price for that event. In the same way, they do these monthly afternoons, don't they, afternoon teas?
Yeah.
Which are successful, I understand, don't they? Yeah. So if we can make those a success.
Could do. The only thing is, like, my kids seem to go to quite a lot of Christmas parties over the period at various institutions, so it's like they are available.
Well, the question is, what groups do we actually want to provide a Christmas party for?
Yeah, but then how do we choose
need
that?
to provide for kids when there's other provisions for them? Is it the older people that need it, or?
Well, the money for this year's
I would suggest
older people came out of the £6,500, the Welton Rovers.
Can I say that we know the issues that the elderly are having with loneliness, and I think a Christmas party, and that
totally agree,
is something we should be looking at doing, but not necessarily. Young people have all got their own quirks and groups and dynamics that.
I think that's a really good contribution, actually.
The Christmas town fair was great for families with very young children. I thought there was a huge turnout.
So the question is, do we want to allocate the money to, and it would be there's 3 parties. Is that what it
well, I want to pick what Sean said. I think that's a really good contribution, because actually, as someone with lots of spare young children, there is actually a lot of provision, but people of an older demographic probably aren't necessarily aren't sorry.
It was probably the OAPs who had more complaints.
Yeah, and that's why that's going to come in. So I was going to say, if anything, that is a service that isn't being provided so well by maybe the sports clubs and the community clubs, and that's where we would be doing well to devote more resources than necessarily the toddlers who do spend a lot of time going to Christmas parties at Christmas, because mines do.
So I put £1,500 for OAP, or do you want to take it down to 1,000?
I would suggest that we should have something for the elderly, and I think if we can, within the budget, if you're going to have the event in the High Street, whether it's a Dickensian light switch on or whatever, you can have something in the town hall at the same time that could be part of that could provide some sort
like
of...
a youth cinema thing or something.
Well, that was the idea.
The same event on the same night that could work as a...
Hang on, I got confused. Are we talking about the OAP?
No, the IEP thinks it's...
That's done. We've moved on from that, right?
Yeah. I'm just saying that during the light switch on, or the Dickensian light, whatever we have, the town hall can have a function at the same time.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, what did we have this time? We had two entertainers. We had Johnny G and Rocky making balloons in here, outside. I can't remember. But you're right, when the town hall's there, we can kind of shepherd them in.
No,
and do
the original plan went before, when it looked like the town hall will be ready in November, was to have a cinema on in the evening as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
What?
I'm going down.
What we got? 15.
What was the last one? Sorry.
At the party for the older.
Party for old people. Still on that line, we said yes.
We've gone 1,500 there instead of 3,000.
Where are we going for?
4,000, which needs to be moved somewhere else to consumer grants.
Right.
Is that a budget for community meeting, for newsletters and things?
Right, so...
You've only spent £600.
Yeah, okay. So the thing is, right, we used to spend, I've said this a few times, but people forget, we used to have a £14,000 a year budget to sponsor Midsummer Norton Life. We stopped sponsoring Midsummer Norton Life because we decided the money could be better spent on other £14,000 a year, right? Which we felt was quite a lot, and it was taking a lot of time. So what we decided to do was stop that and have a budget set aside to take out periodical adverts in the press so we could still support them. So we've done one in Midsummer Norton Life this year. It was a nice little centre spread explaining about the town hall, but we haven't done any more. And I think I have asked if we could do more, but the answer has been no. So I was going to say we shouldn't be budgeting that money if we're not allowed to spend it. But I think that at the moment a double-page centre of Midsummer Norton Life is £600, and it would be reasonable to budget for 4 of them.
6, 12, so that's 3,000.
And we should make an effort, even if it's just guiding people in the journal to our website.
But you've got £4,000 in there as a grant. You've got £2,000 allocated further back for something similar, stationery and.
Stationery is for office staff.
Is it
Media and
Okay, fair enough. That's what it costs.
But we haven't got any notebooks in the office.
Yeah, no borrows.
You know, this is guesswork.
Well, and this is the thing. I mean, when we get down to this level of detail, it is compared to the big issues we've got to face.
I haven't got prices. So are you happy with 3,000 for medium?
Yeah.
Carnival, do you want 10,000? Up it to 10,000?
No.
What are they at the moment? I think it might be prudent to meet them halfway.
Will they not come?
No, I think we...
Well, they did point out we have reduced it quite a bit over the years, which is true.
We went down to 10, we went down to 8.
Yeah.
You can't, well, I wouldn't recommend, I don't think they'd be happy if you took it down again. I mean, but it's 8.
Yeah, I think 8 is...
I think, well, I get the impression they will come asking for more.
But
Well,
I
they
also
can come.
think that we can support them by asking them to do our marshalling, security
Yes,
type things
that's a
as and
really
when
good
we've
idea.
got, when we need it, we can pay the...
So it's a way we can give them
Carnival
grants for a bit of work. It's a great
That's what
idea.
it feels like,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's a better way to
Yeah,
do it.
love it.
It's
Do your
manpower
arts
that we need.
programme and your arts festival?
Yeah. Well, the arts... well, I think so. I mean, that Alex, I don't know whether he shared that sort of...
You spent it this year, so I'll
Yeah.
put yes, because I'm going to. So
He went through the figures today.
yeah.
It's all been spent, yeah.
Do you have an Easter Fair? You didn't have one.
No.
We're going to have one next year.
No, we don't plan on running one again in a hurry. It's interesting, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It's something that I mentioned to Solar Valley Rediscovered, and they may do it sort of for us, basically.
Yeah, okay.
'Cause they
I
said
mean, it
what's
was
what.
originally envisaged, it was the first year that the town park was open and we wanted to get a bit of footfall, but we haven't run it since. And it was done by the town council, not by the community trust.
Summer fair. Did you have a summer fair this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a yes. Youth provision. This is the youth club.
So that discussion has been started with Youth Connect Southwest, who think, although it's quite small, to actually provide staff cover to start a youth club, they can hopefully rejig some of their existing services to combine them to run some sort of youth provision in the Soma Centre.
I'm just not sure.
It's a lot of money going to them.
I think we need to think at the moment. I think we need to. I mean, it's either not going to be enough to do the job properly. I think we just need to understand, because £10,000. I mean, that's what, £800 a month. You're not going to get much youth provision for that. And I mean, you can add it on to the 25, but that's not going to give you an extra night.
No.
That's just going to mean that the nights they are doing, they're just going to spend a bit more on them. And I don't know if that's going to really give you anything more than you're currently getting, because you're not necessarily going to attract any more kids in.
Well, they
we
did
thought we
think...
would.
Is it not for buying things for the Solar Centre as well that could be used for?
I think buying things for the Summer Centre in terms of they could do with a TV and a pool table and stuff like that, I think the community trust are going to manage to handle that. From the talk with Youth Connect Southwest, who think they'd be in a good position to help deliver this in the early stages, especially they said it'd be staff cover because they need certain staff ratios and all the rest of it. The thing is, as far as I understand it, the money that we spend on Youth Connect Southwest at the moment is quite a small cross-section of the youths, and there is a large number of youths, I believe, who don't seem to have anything catered for them at all. So this was more that. Now, you're dead right, it might not be enough.
But
Even if we can have a
meeting with them to understand,
Yeah.
you know, they are working with quite a small demographic.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we know that the kids that we really want to reach out to aren't going to turn up at a youth club. We've got there's a demographic within the town that are not the type that are going to be at a youth club.
Well,
No, that's not what that one's... That's not really what that's for, is it? The money we give them, they are targeting that at children in need. And this is for a wider scope, which
just
is
to
give...
It's just very vague
Yeah.
at the moment as to exactly what that money's going to do, how it's going to work, whether it's enough money, whether it just expands the existing 2 nights that we get, or whether or what provision it adds to that.
No, we haven't. Yeah, I mean, we've not got anything fallen down on paper yet, but there have been some discussions with Sam and the staff at UK. They think they can make another night, an extra night, work for that with that sort of money in the Solar Centre. The ins and outs of it and detail of how they do that, I don't know at the moment, but
No.
that's what he said. Yes, they can make
And it's
it
the
work.
free-
And
it's
I'll
the
put another note
And I'm
in that.
sure, you know,
If they pool all their money, they don't isolate, they don't ring fence
No, it's a
money
bit
from different
isolated. That would be
areas.
separate.
It'd be
that'd
separate.
No, I mean if they get bigger money from another...
Oh yeah, there's probably some grant funding from somewhere else could contribute to that. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But the other money we're giving them won't contribute to that. The other money we've got is
Is ring
designated
fence for
those
that,
things.
yeah.
But this 10,000 with anything else that they can do.
I'm all on board with trying to,
Yeah.
I mean, we said at the meeting, but we need to be specific about what we're getting for effectively a 40% increase in their budget. We need to understand exactly what we're going to get for the extra 40%.
Well, we could, I mean, it's,
I think with
to classify it as a big increase in their budget is probably not strictly correct, because they're the providers that are the most immediate ones we approach to do it. So
It's a different product
so
that they offer.
we could we could deliver it through the community trust, but then the community trust then goes out and finds almost like tenders. They're the main body that knows the children, that knows in the area. So it's just it's a separate service that we're asking them to
help
present. And
with,
I think
really.
yeah, you know.
Okay, so I think leave it in for now, but I think it requires a lot of definition
Yeah,
as
yeah,
to what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We need to understand the exact benefit of this.
Yeah.
If it just makes it a bit glossier for the existing kids that already go there, it's got to reach more.
No, I think that from the outset the idea is not to do with the existing children that are typically catered for by Youth Connect South West. It's for all the children who, for instance, want to watch a football match but aren't old enough for a pub. And we get this all the time. What have 14 and 15-year-olds got to do when it's night time?
Yeah.
And we want to give them something to hang out.
So I think we can have this discussion further at the full council, and maybe present some more information there. Can I just propose that we extend the meeting? I don't know how long we'll dispose it.
Do we have to?
You've got another 10 minutes.
Right. Okay.
Right.
We try and go for
I
another
don't
10
mind
minutes.
going a bit
We're getting through it, aren't we?
So,
Okay, 10 minutes before we need to extend.
the town trust grant, 15,000, that was for Joe's wages. Do you want that kept the same? Do you want to put that in, please?
Yeah, I think that should personally be kept until we have a clearer picture of what we're doing with the town trust.
Go in the staffing costs then. Why does that go out as a grant?
Because it's the town trust, which is separate.
Town trust is a separate entity.
Right.
And whether and you know, I've proposed a staffing committee meeting for early next year, but how we skin this cat in terms of who does what work when. At the moment it's not sustainable for Jo to carry on doing it and do all the other roles that she's doing it. And so we need more support. Now whether that's that we hire a secretary for the town trust, or whether that's we hire some sort of admin support in the office and allow Jo to do the town trust work because she's got all the detail and she knows it all, that's something that we need to really flesh out.
So you've got various capital projects. So you've got £1,000 in weather work.
Well, that's already going to be covered by the Summer Valley Rediscovered, isn't it?
Yes. So I'll take that one out. I can delete it. There should be £1,000 in the town park. I'm going to put that back in because although you got the Summer Valley and you just agreed to fund it, apparently within, Katie will know this because it's off the top of my head, apparently within the proposal there's only funding for 3 benches. Apparently there's a request for more.
So at the town trust meeting that we had the other week, we have allocated the £7,500 that the WECA have put in for seating. We've decided where those seats are going to be and what they're going to look like. But there was still a desire. There's only 3 and quite a lot of places that might like them. They also talked about lighting. So whether or not this comes from town council in grants or whether this comes from town trust, it sort of needs to be decided. But there's certainly a desire to do more in the town park.
I thought that was because a significant amount it hasn't been fully designated yet from the Summer Valley Rediscovered.
Yeah.
Could
Well,
they,
I think it has. I think they've got line items against each budget line. So 7.5 was for the season.
they've got it, yeah.
But we would have to contribute as well towards like the bedding in and the cement and stuff. So I think that £1,000 will quite easily go.
Yeah, because what was it? It was something like 1,500 plus VAT.
Is it not?
and that doesn't include installation, so that's £2,000 really, probably.
Yeah, so we got 3, didn't we, of one of each,
Yeah.
and that was 7.5 gone.
And for the town park, isn't there substantial S106, which has been earmarked for it?
There's £500,000
Yeah.
to come from up the top of the road.
Well,
No, exactly. No, I mean, but...
well, in the next probably 3 years, you'd imagine.
And does that funnel in through Summer Valley
So-
Rediscovery?
So the total amount
It's
of...
interesting, yeah.
The total amount of 106 allocated was just over £1 million, and about nearly half of that was for green space.
460,000 or something.
So it was about 400 and something thousand was allocated for green space, which predominantly is the town park.
Yeah, it said specifically the town park between Midsummer Norton and Westfield, so it was quite specific.
So there is funding. When, I mean, obviously it depends on the legal agreements and on when they commence work and stuff.
Okay.
Usually
But
they
it's the pipeline.
usually they say something like 50% before commencement of building, that sort of thing.
Well, no, and we don't know even we don't even know if it will happen in the next financial year.
Oh, I see, yeah. Good point. Good
Okay,
point.
what about, so, we keep the town park, Garden of Friendship, Chadswell.
So Garden of Friendship, you need something in there because I'm getting my gardens knowledge up. The Garden of Friendship, I think we need to buy some is that where the people of Mary's, the person
Yeah.
Yeah.
we need to pay for the personnel. So you
Okay.
do not know about the section of Mary.
There's a
Keeps on
Yeah, no,
getting
that's
stolen.
fine. What about St Chadswell?
Yeah.
then?
Yes, that is a yes because that means the river needs, that's actually going to be more than 1,000.
Okay.
The river needs clearing. I'm only going to put 1,000 in.
Right, yeah.
But the river needs clearing. Every time I go to St Chad's, there's rubbish. It clears.
But doesn't
Well,
that get, it's cleared as part of the maintenance of the, there's not,
No, we have to pay it.
it's not in Dave, in the
Dave,
warden.
Dave would
Dave
look after that, yeah.
Dave can't do it because it's
You're not.
waterworks, so we can't do it on his own. So
Oh,
the
and that.
contract, but the contract doesn't cover to do like the full clearance.
Right.
It is, yeah, so.
The
Okay.
thing about St Chad's is there was a security camera bought for there and a mosquito, and it was shared between us and Radstock and Westfield, but then it was moved and it's never come back, and now we've got a lot more antisocial behaviour there,
Well, they did have some big issues in Radstock.
possibly. But we, well, we surely did. But at some point, are we? Because at the time when we said it's a bit of a shame because the mosquito seems to be working well. Are we going to put some CCTV coverage and some mosquito coverage back at St Chad's? And we never have, and that's been a good few years now. And the littering and graffitiing there has got steadily worse. So,
Well, we can discuss that at
right.
full council
No,
today.
Maybe.
It's not a budget.
I'm just thinking it should be slightly higher, if anything, for St Chad's well.
This IT upgrade I'm actually going to take out because Katie and I have had new laptops.
Okay.
Because I'm the delegated power, we bought all this and software we want. I don't actually.
The only thing is, when we move back into the town hall, are we going to want to have screens and like be able to plug our laptops in? Because at the moment
Yes,
it's
okay, I need that back. I need that back in. Civic Regalia 250.
Yeah, keep that.
Keep that in. Right, okay, so the 50,000 I'm going to go back to the top. 50,000 So the water rates I need to find out. So sorry, I hit the wrong button. The water rates I'm left because I need to go and find that out.
Okay.
Rent payable, you've got a query on that.
To be honest with this, it's a budget. We haven't got an invoice, so I'm quite happy to tick off the water rates and so at £300. I mean,
It's not a lot, is it?
It's a budget, and if
What
it,
about the rent?
If you can clarify that for the next meeting, then
Yeah, I can get that
that would
down.
be useful.
Okay, we go down.
The stationery, the 2,000.
Oh, that's
Health and safety for West Clues.
How do you do that? Do you get a
well, that would be.
WASPer come out and just look at it? Is that what that's for?
I think that's covered. Health and safety would be covered under your, because West Clues is your play area. That's inspected quarterly, and then we've just, well, I wouldn't say you just paid out 2,500 to repair some stuff. So I'm going to take that out.
Take that out,
Should have
right.
something in there.
I was going to say, shouldn't that be more?
Stationery. I don't know why.
have you got a different line for the Rosper?
Yes, that comes under a different line. That comes under there. That comes under equipment maintenance.
Okay, and that's the new figure that we've got from Baines for
Yes.
next year. Okay.
Yes, I'm just doing
Right. So back up to the 2000 stationery.
2000, why have I put 2000 stationery? I don't know.
Because that's what Gordon just argued for
I know.
£600 spreads.
No, that was the media
Yeah, that was
communications
all.
budget.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
because if you look, it's not been spent, has it? Actual, £500, £300, 150. Why is it?
Printed the newsletter myself.
Yeah, because I think I put the newsletter on there.
Only 6 copies.
But the stationery printing publications, to my mind, that is paper, envelopes.
But why is it so much more than in previous years?
I'm going to take it down to 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take it down to 1,000.
Right.
Yes, well,
Okay.
I don't know why. That's how I put it.
Town, central town.
Insurance. This is another question because insurance is all.
We can't do that at the moment.
We don't know what's happening with insurance. Equipment maintenance, 43. I've just put as above. What did I put as above? Oh, 42 I've included 800 for the annual playground inspections which are done by Baines. And then I've put town environment for anything they may pick up.
Okay.
But I don't know whether you want to increase that because we just had to fork out 2.5. So that is 43. I'm going to put what's that?
Oh, that's the new playground, is it? Is that the new playground, right?
Equipment.
Well, that'd be
we-
all
well,
under warranty, won't it, for 2 years?
It's, well, it's the. I don't know if you've been to the West Clues playground, but it is quite old.
Ah, sorry. I thought that was the new
Not the
one,
new stuff.
the new stuff.
Wow.
Which new stuff? There's lots of new stuff we bought there.
Yeah, but there's also that rickety rackety bridge which is like splintered, and is that what we paid £2,500 to repair? Because they've come up with like a sort of a rag.
You do
for what needs to be
isn't
done.
what isn't in the budget, and it's just come back to mind. And we looked at it. You probably do need to budget, although it's going to cause ructions. Within the next 2 or 3 years, you will need to replace all the wooden play equipment at West Clues.
Yeah.
Because it is being repaired and repaired and repaired. So in the next 2 or 3 years, it will need to
Fundraiser.
be.
So that's 48 where we've got £1,500 there. West Clues.
So
Yeah,
that's-
West Clues is mentioned earlier up.
So 400 is the town environment. So because they also
Which
do,
is
The cut. They do a grass cut. Is that included?
yeah, they do sort of, I
Yeah.
haven't got things, but they don't just do West Clues, they do other areas of the.
so would you leave that as it at 400 then? It looks like,
400.
and then
So that's West Clues, I put that at 500, 1500,
1500.
because that's going up every year.
And then you've got West
Okay.
Clues at 1,500
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, so that's what we were talking about.
it's quite an increase, but if you think that's what we need.
Well, the 400, the town environment is the town park, the planters, you've got planters on the high street, that's the town environment.
Yeah.
West Clues, so I got myself mixed up, is the play equipment which I just said, I reckon within 5 years, therefore, it needs replacing.
I think you're going to at some
But that's
what we
about
do at
20
this year or
grand.
next year, those figures are going to have to go up substantially.
Yeah.
I mean, if they vandalise a planter in the high street, I mean,
Well,
that'll be half your budget.
Well, all the signage that you put in the town park, 2 days later, 3 of them were vandalised. We're not replacing them.
No. Okay, so we'll leave that 1,500 then. Do we agree? Leave the 1,500. We're on to the 4,000.
So that's your notice boards, which is causing some debate. That's your notice boards. I'm going to skip that.
Those are the ones that have just been vandalised, no?
No,
Those
they're proposed
are
new
existing.
ones
No,
that
those
we
are
haven't
new
really
ones.
discussed.
It came-
Yeah.
it came-
Meeting a few months ago.
Oh, right.
But that's another one, isn't it? If we removed all those other things, things that Gordon or the working party had put in, that's an extra thing that hasn't been discussed as part of a strategy. I know.
Yeah, so there are lots of,
So
So I've got furniture and equipment in the town environment. So again, that's back to, that's your notice boards. There's talk about putting notice boards along the river, on the high street.
I think that's already paid for. It's
No,
not
the
top,
river
wasn't it?
signage work, we've
Right.
paid for Andy King's time,
Mm-hmm.
and the last thing you told me to do was speak to Stefan Chillers in Baines to work out where it could be placed that could be agreed by both Baines and the town council, because on the river we didn't own anywhere that we could put it. I'm trying to get
This is on the high street.
meeting in the new year.
But you've paid, so far you've paid £500 for town environment furniture and equipment. So take it under it. So I'm got yes there.
But yeah, got yes on that one.
Do you wish to extend?
Yes. Do you wish to extend? Yes. Vote. Carried.
I didn't vote for it.
Yeah.
Cool, we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Come on.
Tantric finance.
We're nearly there.
Just never getting there.
9 a.m. this morning.
Okay, so right, left the
So that's
signage.
So property maintenance, you need, I've just plucked a figure out in the air. I don't actually quite know what property maintenance is because it seems to be covered by seems to be covered under other cost centres.
Does Dave do the maintenance of the equipment maintenance?
Yes.
The
So that's probably
maintenance,
500.
maintenance?
There's always buying little bits and pieces, like a post box about
Yeah.
14, a light, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
I find it-
into the wrong code.
Yeah, that's what I find confusing, the codes, I think.
Okay.
The-
Maybe needs to go somewhere
Do
else.
you know what I mean? It's quite hard to work because there's
It's like
3
this,
different codes for
it's-
things.
It starts off as a system, and you can tell over decades.
Yeah.
Things been bolted on. We've bolted on a new
Yeah.
category here and a new category there, and it really needs to
A
be.
bit of an overhaul on the
Yeah.
on the codes.
So
Van allowance.
66.
66.
You don't need 5,000.
Yeah, but have we not got because we talked about this in a few meetings ago about how much we've actually spent in recent months on the repairs to the van, and that was a figure that, was Jo going to go away again? I don't know if I've seen it, but because the van has certainly been into repair a few times since I've been here.
So I did ask this question a while ago, but I've not seen...
Yeah.
Exactly, so I've not seen in the expenses paid lots of garage bills. So how do we actually pay for those repairs at the moment?
Probably got a credit card.
Right, so that will be coming out next month's bills then. Because I just haven't seen these repair bills for the van. Because it is quite disappointing, because you're right, we bought it last year for £7,000.
So could we ask for clarification on van
Yeah.
costs?
what the
for
actual
for full
maintenance has
council?
been? Because the original idea was thinking if it lasted for even 3 years, it'd have been cheaper than leasing, considerably cheaper.
We'll skip over that. We'll leave it as it is and move
Yeah,
on.
5,000.
Taking that out.
What's that?
I think we should learn from Radstock, because they've just bought an electric van for their town warden. I think we could maybe see how they got on with that and learn a few lessons.
So
Right.
the legal fees.
I think that
Their
there
van is not going to last forever, is it?
there are some financial advantages for us moving to a lease, particularly an electric lease vehicle.
Well, we can look into that.
Interesting to see.
In the paperwork that Baines have recently sent out, if you're doing a clean air zone in Summer Norton,
If you're doing it.
We have no plans yet for a clean air zone.
If we're being imposed, if a clean air zone is being imposed upon us.
Yeah, well, if it is, that might be a good time to change to an electric van. But it's not being imposed, and it's unlikely to be happening in the next 12 months.
Yeah. Okay.
You've got I'm jumping.
Which one are we on?
69.
69.
Legal fees.
Yeah, it seems...
Legal fees, you've got 5,000 in there for legal fees, and then you've also got 8,000 further down.
Right. Which one do you want?
You want to employ lots of consultants.
So what do we get rid of then, Kate?
The legal fees, that's not consultant fundraising, is it?
No.
The
No.
legal fees are,
So just-
we've got about 3 different solicitors. It's very confusing because for some reason the town council has taken on the town trust solicitors to do pieces of work. So in terms of that cross-contamination between the staff trying to work with different solicitors to do different things, it's really confusing. Because when we went to go and see one set of solicitors, they started talking about town council business, but we were there on town trust business, so, you know, all that kind of stuff. But there are quite a lot of different solicitors that are doing different things that hold the leases for different properties that we've, you know, taken on.
And is that a
over
good
years.
thing? Or
No, it's very
I would have
confusing.
said
Well, it's confusing that they've cross-contaminated the work. If it was just that we had a different solicitor for each trust that we were, organisation that we were acting on behalf of, then it would be a lot simpler.
So
But
the
I haven't
£13,000 for legal fees, do we need £13,000 for legal fees?
I don't know because I haven't seen a single bill for legal
But
fees since I've been there.
I mean, I think, unfortunately, Kate and Katie have only been here 3 months, and they're going to need a year to unravel a lot of the nonsense that's in there. But we don't be left short in the meantime while they're...
that figure would have come from.
So this 5,000, Cheryl will take it down to 1,500, that is about 3 hours work.
But without any...
Well, what's the
What if you
justification of that?
reduce the two together to 10,000?
So what's the
So because it's
phone?
5 and 5.
Because
what
we
would
get
that
legal
be,
support on
do
the
you think?
phone, certain things.
Well, the thing
So
is that at some point historically, those numbers had a value for a reason.
I don't know.
No,
what
I've
contractors
heard
they've got for
that's
legal,
not being
because like I said,
spent.
we've got
So
these
there's
new
5 to the
legislations.
8,000, I've clutched those figures because, as Katie said, there's an awful lot to sort out. There's a lot of leases coming up. I don't think the town trust will have to. So someone said if we do a lease to the town trust, they'll have to pay the legal fees. I think the legal fees will just be split down the
It
middle.
still comes down to the point that the town trust get their money from.
Yeah.
So whether we've got it in our budget or we put it into a grant to them, it's the same.
So then-
The money has to exist.
It has to
No, they
exist.
wouldn't need to go in a grant to them. They would pay it out of the money that comes into them, their income.
From where?
From their leasing it out to leasing it to the community trust. If you're talking about the Soma Centre, or if the town hall's different.
It's more the town trust though, isn't it, that we need to kind of be cognizant of. But what the Charity Commission was very clear about when I spoke to them this week was that anything that the town trust, it should all go through their bank account. So whether it's they're paying for the insurance, whether they're paying for the solicitors, whether they're paying for whatever, it should be very transparent in all of our accounts who's paying for what. So the town council just paying for things doesn't work. We should give them a grant and they should pay for it themselves, which in terms of the tax isn't necessarily always the best way of doing things, but this is the setup we find ourselves with, and this is and it would cost us more to try and change the trusts, or I think it would be very difficult to unpick legally. So I think we are where we are.
Okay, so I think for now we'd probably just better leave those as they are. We can we maybe have further information on the 8th of January, or we'll discuss it further whether we think that's an appropriate amount. But for now, we'll just sort of move on from that bit. Okay.
Well, we could combine the line, couldn't we? So
Yeah.
it's clearer.
if it's the same thing. Okay.
So I put the 13 up there.
You got rid of the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Right. So where are we?
Both
To
lines is the
memorial.
Yeah, I know. I'll
That's right, okay.
Are we putting a Y for that?
Yeah.
As a yes?
Yeah. Well, no, we'll look at it and next
Okay.
meeting.
So you've
So
got £500 for professional fees for memorials. That's, when did you last spend money on the cenotaph?
When we
But
had
only
it
3 years
cleaned,
ago.
Oh yeah, it's been fortunate.
about a year ago, was it?
oh yeah.
So that's when we're cleaning and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we could
Okay.
do with another clean again now. I think it's looking a little bit
Right.
green.
Okay. So vote keep that then. Yeah. Put a yes for now.
5,000 share will be taken out, and but we removed can't afford. But that's for that came from the strategy working party
That's right.
to a consultant to write some strategies.
So
We
has
don't
that been
need that
removed?
then.
Has that been removed now?
No, because it's no.
Well, it should be because it
Yeah,
says
take it out.
it says remove can't afford, and it's still there, so it gets confusing.
Civic expenses. Say I don't quite know why you've got civic expenses and then why you have
Civic
Civic
memorial
service.
service.
Is it your go on? Sorry, the civic expenses and the civic what?
Service.
service. So the civic service is the civic awards that we've just done.
But is the civic the other one? Is that for gifting in any capacity? Do you ever do any kind of?
No.
It's nothing to do with Remembrance Day, is it? The civic expenses,
Cost of closing the roads? or
wreaths,
anything?
perhaps.
That would come
Civic
under,
expenses isn't wreaths.
That would come under civic regalia.
Not going to remembrance.
Is it? I'm sure somebody said that one of those budgets was for wreaths or something to do with Remembrance Day.
I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to check. I tell you what I'm going to do. Yeah, but the wreaths are about £100.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about the cost
What
line,
I'm going to do,
the budget line.
maybe completely wrong, I need to change the line. You do need a line for section 137 expenses, which is the power of last support. It's such as your remembrance wreaths.
The power of what?
Okay.
It's because we don't
Because
have
your
common
remembrance
controls.
wreath is done under section 137 because there's no specific power for a remembrance
Okay.
wreath.
Brilliant. That's good. Where are we next then?
And that's a yes.
Yeah.
We should really have that 137 against several lines.
We talked about
Yeah.
Legal.
It's just the 50 there then, is
the
it?
50 there.
Right. Okay.
Small.
The youth division,
Okay.
the youth division you talked about, so we are now up to the white open.
Yeah, we'll keep the 10. Yeah. Well, Cheryl reduced that to 40, I think, hasn't she?
So what is the current...
Because we've got 50, which included the 10 for youth provision, so she separated them out.
Hang on, that's not the 50,000 from the very start has been a provision ring fence.
Yeah, and
for
it
the
had
town.
something in
Or
it. It was divided up into something.
Cheryl's chopped it and changed it in her little project.
Well, no, there was it was 20 for was it 20 for staffing and 30 for...
It was 50, always 50,000
For the unknown.
that's
Sort of opening it back up.
But when you
again.
justified at the other
Nice.
meeting, you did say that it was divided up into separate parts, didn't you?
No, that's what I've written at the last meeting. It says to include running costs plus 20,000. So you've got 30,000 for start-up and 20
So,
20 to include put some staff in the town hall.
so what we established this afternoon from chatting to Alex at the Town Trust is that there's a number of costs we've got to look at.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first one is the initial opening of the hall, and is there any inventory required in terms of fixtures, fittings,
Yeah.
furnishings, stuff
Yeah.
like that. The second thing is, if we assume that it's a start-up business effectively, and it's not going to be running at 100% capacity during the first year, it's not going to necessarily be covering its utility costs. It's also, with the staffing, we know that previously there was a lot of volunteers and goodwill in terms of making sure it was open at 9 o'clock in the morning and closing at 10 o'clock at night, but the vast majority of that was actually Paul Myers running around doing all of that work. And he was down there pretty much every day sorting out things.
And Patricia.
So
Yeah, Tricia did that.
Yeah, right.
So we need this provision of 50,000, if anything, is low.
Well,
Because if you assume that your overheads, just in utilities, 30,000 I think would be an underestimate. So you need. So I think your utilities are going to be at least 30,000. You're going to need some contribution towards staff. So you're probably going to need £20,000 for the amount of hours you're covering. 13 hours a day, almost 7 days a week. You're going to need
staffing. Staffing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we didn't have that. We didn't have that before.
No, you didn't have it before. You had Paul Myers.
But
No,
he
he
wasn't
didn't.
there. But you're really talking about somebody opening it and somebody closing it.
No,
There's
you're
nobody
not.
staffing.
So
No, you were. Paul Myers opened it and closed it. That's what you said.
No, but he
He
was
wasn't there all
down.
the time.
He also dealt with all the disputes between and all the issues that people had when they were hiring the halls and.
you've got to remember the
stuff
Community
like that.
Trust is taking on another member of staff who's going to be, 8/10 full-time. So that's going to give them a lot of capacity. We chatted about this earlier as well, to share that load between the Soma Centre and the Town Hall. So
It's up to you. All I'm saying is I don't want the project to fail. So I'm saying put in a sensible provision to ensure in its first year that we cover the utilities, we keep the lights on, we keep the heating on, we make sure that the staff are available when they're needed to deal with all the issues you've got when you're managing community space and lots of different groups with different needs. You know, when this group finishes and the next group come in and the place is a tip, or this group have overrun by half an hour and the people are queuing up waiting to go in and use the hall. There's numerous issues that come with this type of community space.
they did manage before, though. I'm going to say there are numerous issues, but they did manage before. You know, that's the thing. The Town Hall
wasn't there to.
And Alex did a lot of it.
And when we had the cinema,
I was going to, and you have the cinema.
We used to go and open up in the morning, and we kept it open all day,
What-
and then we closed it down
We
at
don't-
night.
What worries
So
me-
moving forward, were people just being able to wander in and out as they at will, particularly with the issues we've got. We know we've got issues of antisocial behaviour and youth crime in the town. So an open door policy is good.
No,
to an
I
extent,
think.
but it
I
has
was
to
going
be
to say,
I think the way it
what
worked
were-
before was people were booked in, or the way I would assume it would work is people are booked in to use the space, they'd have access to the space. So there may be a central area. What I would imagine was the council or the staffing, there'll be somebody using the office, so the office will be staffed, the town hall will be open. So the immediate entrance will be open where there's toilets available, but the rest of the town hall needn't be open, it can be locked and secure. But if a group is coming in to use it, they would have a key code, a key to get into that space, look after that space, and which is what was happening before, I think. You just need somebody on top of that to manage that. It needs somebody to make sure it's opened and closed in the morning.
I think you make a good point though, because
Yeah.
if we are going to be working there, are we going to have constant knocking on the door asking for, like, is that going to be a town council then responsibility, even though it's the community?
No, I don't
trust
think
that
it
run
should it?
Well, no, it shouldn't.
No.
But we've got this reception desk that's being built, but there's
Yeah.
no plan at the moment to have a receptionist sitting there and doing.
No,
That
and I don't
kind
think
of-
there should be, because it's not that sort of space. If there's events
Should
on,
it? Should it? I don't know.
well, no. Well, I mean, in the future, I would like to see it used. Well, I don't know during the day,
We
but
need somebody on reception because although we have asked for passes, for a lockable door to passes, so people can't wander in and out, so the staff there are a bit secure, we've asked for sort of passes. So if someone's coming in and they're knocking on the door and we're in the office, we're going to be in and out of the offices, so you do need somebody on that reception space. So if they come in and they use the toilet, we then go back in the office, they could go up on the lift, they could go upstairs. You do need somebody in that reception just to...
They did manage before.
well,
they did manage
you
before.
had an entrance
I
to use
never
the
went
toilet.
into the old place.
Right.
As I understand it, you could just go to the toilet and that was the end of your interaction with the town hall.
Yeah.
Or
Whereas
you
now,
could knock on the door to get access to the council.
Okay, fine, but
No, you
now
could walk through, actually.
could you?
Did you?
Yes, because where the toilets were, you could come out and sort of in front of you, then there was a hallway going down, and there was three little rooms that were rented out regularly for consultations and so on. And it went into the beach and
No, I think there was another door though.
And you
wasn't
went
there?
through there
Jordan?
upstairs.
You had to
up
knock. I
So
could
you
never
were
get
free to run
past.
around.
You could actually, yes.
I'm not sure I
Well,
was.
that's what, if you're not confident that we don't need staff, we won't need staff.
I was
if you're
gonna
confident that we don't need...
I think we need to leave the 50,000 in, and I don't think we can pinpoint exactly now what this is going to be spent on, but I can foresee that we'll have teething issues, and we realise and we identify
Probably.
exactly what we do need once we get to
I
it.
think, because I haven't.
Question
Well,
about the figures, because I know the running is really important, but I feel like this we need to do the figures, which I know does all permeate down. But is that 50 grand just for the town hall? Because the likelihood is the town hall probably won't be ready to the end of the summer next year. That's my vibe.
The what? It
The
will be
town
ready by
hall.
April, yeah, maybe.
Look,
Yeah.
Well, I don't hold a lot of confidence.
That's not what we're planning for.
No, okay, so, but the summer centre upgrade or anything isn't in there, is it?
But
So-
we're wondering whether the staff can sort of work across sites, like what can that look
So
like?
there's nothing in the budget for upgrading the service centre.
Or, okay, I just, because that's going to come first. So
Well, that's a town trust
I'm
Yeah.
community
So we
trust.
and a
Right.
community trust. It doesn't.
Okay.
It shouldn't really affect.
Okay,
the
that's
town.
right.
So it does affect us if they can't pay their bills.
Yeah,
because
but
they'll
they're
come
going
knocking
to.
on the door looking for grants.
Yeah, but they're
I'm
not
just
going to
thinking
pay.
that 50 might be pushed up and used a bit earlier. I don't know, maybe
Right.
if it could be.
I wanted to say one
Go on,
thing,
sorry,
right?
go
A
on.
couple of things. So for a start, I mean, I think Cheryl did make a good suggestion that was that money should be general project contingency to give the council the flexibility. As you said, it might be we need some extra help. The community trust does with the summer centre when it opens. It could be it's the town hall. We don't know, so it's probably wrong to try and earmark it too closely.
But,
Um,
I think there is some sort of ring fencing on it.
Well,
We don't want another table tennis table. I mean, we want to make sure
and
that the money is used for the purposes that we're talking about now.
well, we need to make sure the money is used where it's needed and effectively. And the second thing I want to say is I personally am a little bit unsure about such a large amount of money, £50,000, right, which is whatever percentage of the precept. Is it 10%?
Well, we
Right, but I was going to say, the thing is, such a large amount going on top of the money that the council has spent on the precept to pay for the Public Works Loan Board, and I wonder if residents would quite rightly go, that seems an awful lot of money to commit in 1 year to the town hall. And I think it might be reasonable if the resident said, look, you've just taken out a £590,000 loan, why are you having to increase the precept by another £50,000 to open the door?
budgeting, the budgeting.
Because we're
That's-
talking about
that's
between
the
capital and revenue here. It's a totally different thing, capital and revenue. Capital is that's been done, and the grant money's been spent, and no provision has been put in place for what happens when the grant money runs out and the town hall opens. And that's what we're doing now, is making sure that we keep the lights on for the first year. And I think it would look a lot worse to the public if you have to shut the doors halfway through the year because you can't afford to pay the bills. So I think it's very important that we understand this is a revenue issue, not a capital issue that we're dealing with here.
Well, I personally don't see it, and I've made that perfectly clear.
We've got the public works loan. That's a given, and we've already agreed that the town hall isn't going to be contributing towards the repayments of that public works loan. So that's already something that's in the precept that effectively we'll all be paying for.
We need to keep
there may be money
focused.
left at the end of the public works zone. I've allocated the entire 590,000 to the refurbishment.
But that can't be spent on a revenue of utilities and staffing.
But it can be spent on stuff, what I call white
preparing for the opening of
stuff.
the
But again, I don't know how much of that's going to. I've put all of that.
So
The business plan suggested the town hall should be close to breaking even,
But
which
the
may,
business
which
plan's completely flawed.
possibly completely flawed, but completely flawed by a tune of £50,000
More than
seems
50,000.
very out.
It's flawed by more than 50,000.
Okay, I'm just saying. Personally, I don't see the £50,000
Chuck.
just for the town hall, and that is what makes me a little bit concerned about such a large amount of money being added onto the precept when the town hall should be slightly cheaper to run than it was before the restoration.
Okay, good. Go on, Charlotte.
I was just wondering, if we do stick to this budget, can you work out the percentage increase?
What, from
Yeah.
last year?
No, that we were talking
No,
about.
you'll do that afterwards. I think really we
Really?
probably.
That's the main question, isn't it?
Sorry,
No, it is.
Yeah,
But I think
isn't it?
Kate would work that out when we.
Increase from what, from
No,
last
I
year?
just wondered if because she's inputted the figures.
Yeah, if it does it automatically now.
What we could look at the increase that residents will have to pay.
I don't know because I haven't had the tax base figure.
Right, but if we do
That percentage increase at the
Yeah.
top there is 16.62.
On your preset.
Yes.
With those figures
Right,
updated,
and
it
that-
automatically updates. So that's what we're looking at, yeah. With the £50,000 in there.
Right, sorry, thank you. That's what I was
Is
asking
the
for.
increase on your preset from last year.
Right, yeah. That was
Well,
it.
indeed
Okay.
figures, which is in a different term.
Yeah.
That's what he's paid the last 3 years. This, I can't work anything out.
No, that was the figure I was asking.
So
we're
I-
supposed to get
sorry.
it before Christmas, aren't we? So,
We are supposed to
so
get it before
any second it's going to.
So I think really, I propose that we go with what we've got there. I like Gordon. I feel that's to put £50,000 on the precept, and when people say, "What's the precept? Why have you got £50,000 extra on the town hall?" That you haven't quite defined what you're using it for. Then I think I find it I have difficulty with that. A smaller amount, I don't mind. And again, with Gordon and having spoken to Alex, we don't know whether we need that sort of money. But I think for the time being, I think we could talk about. Otherwise, we're going to be here till 10 o'clock. I think if we say we'll leave that 50 there without a Y next to it, that's in that way that's the main issue that we'll need discussing at full council.
Well, I was going to say one
improve
of the things that this meeting should really do is present options to full council to decide, because we can't go through this meeting again in January. It's just not a thing. So what I'd recommend, right, and I will actually propose it, is this budget there is proposed, and if anyone seconds it, as a recommendation. And I will also propose the alternative, which Cheryl did, is proposed as a recommendation. Then full council. Please don't interrupt, Sean. Please don't. I'm going to say. Then full council have a simple choice between two options, and the meeting in January will be effective and decisive, which it needs to be, because we can't have this length of discussion
Why have we spent
again.
the whole time going through this, and now we've only got a handful of ones that need to be further discussed? If we're just going to now bring in another budget which doesn't belong to the RFO who you employed to
Oh,
do
fair
the
enough.
finance.
It's just because I thought you were meant to produce. It says that we're meant to produce two options.
Well, I think for the
choose from.
handful that don't have
Okay.
a Y against,
Right.
you know, perhaps we can. Well, we've said that we'll get more information on the figures, and perhaps there can be a choice at full council that we can present at that juncture, so it's an easy decision for the full council to make, so it doesn't take forever.
So there'd be like one choice with 40,000 and one choice with the 50, for instance.
So then, whatever your, it's going to get what I've already written the recommendation, you go to full council in January. So whenever we close this meeting, next month, for instance, I will then send this out. This is my master copy. I will tidy it up a bit. I will then send it out with the supporting papers and say, this is the budget discussed at F&O, the items with the why by it, they have agreed and are happy with those figures. The figures with no why are up for discussion.
Yeah, but I don't think, and I'll say it again, I don't think that the final council meeting, with all the things that are on the budget, it would be better if we had some clear and decisive options that full council can vote on. Because as soon as we say these are items that are up for discussion, you might be looking at a meeting which cannot fit in within its allocated time. And if we don't make that decision,
You've got 3 items up for discussion.
well, it's amazing how long people can take with discussions. But it's getting very close to the bone really when it comes to January. We can't be in a position where we're having to extend time because the budget hasn't been approved.
There's an RFO, I wouldn't want to present someone else's budget.
I think you know,
Right.
yeah, sorry, but I think to make it clearer to people, it would be, you know, expedient to
Okay.
offer this model, which has addressed some of Cheryl's points that she raised. There's an opportunity between now and January for individual councillors to contact the clerks and put some, you know, points forward that can be brought up. And there are just 2 or 3, 3 or 4 things. The van, but I think maybe we could provide a bit more justification with the Youth Connect, you know, £10,000 thing. The van cost the £50,000 there. So there's a few things that not many, that we can vote on. I think if we present this as a more or less final version with just 3 or 4 things that we are, you know, there's a little bit of discussion about. I think that would be my proposal.
Well, I'd rather.
There was a number of things in Cheryl's. Cheryl's was very good, but she's come in late to the party and she's trying to catch up. And there were a lot of things in there that Kate said, you know, obviously the insurance issue, the issue of £5,000 for an election. There were a lot of issues in there that weren't correct, so we'd be wrong to present that budget.
Yeah.
The one thing I would probably agree with Gordon on is with this £50,000, rather than just ring fence it for the town hall, if you also included the solar centre in that as well, because I still feel there is potential some issues there. I mean, say the last accounts that the Community Association submitted showed an income of 22,500 and an expenditure of 32,000. So they were nearly £10,000 loss on their last accounts.
Okay.
Now there may be good justification for that, but it makes me nervous if the group that's already organising it have shown a £10,000 deficit.
Okay.
So to ring fence that 50,000 for both
Project contingency, is that fair?
well, I'd say solar centre and town hall contingency
I'll
personally.
just change it to include upgrade to solar centre and opening of the town hall.
But I do seriously think that at the end of next year, at the end of that financial year, we'll be glad there was £50,000 in there. The business costs on utilities is only going one direction at the moment, and a lot of businesses are really struggling, seeing quadruple increases in their costs.
So does somebody need to propose that
We don't, because it's just there's no resolution.
We're
It's
not.
just a recommendation.
Well, so this
Recommendation
to
to
refer this to full council, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm happy, and I think you've done a really good
Yeah.
job, Kate.
Thank you, Kate.
Okay, so can I declare the meeting closed then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, the meeting's closed. You can carry on talking if you want.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Kate.
What I don't want to do is the full council is just go through all
No, I think
No, that's what I was trying to say. I think
people
it's
have
good
had
to have
time
something
to
to
look
vote
at
on.
it between now and January, and we just